Brand disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this platform by individuals, callers, or invited guests are their own. The information you hear does not reflect the overall views of all parties associated with the brand. We encourage everyone to research all things heard live or via archive for edification purposes. Discretion is advised.
Help keep the show on the air. If you want to help, you can send your donation to PayPal. The email is debatetalkforyou@gmail.com or through Cash App, $Sal Showtime. Thanks for your support.
Shalom, shalom, Shabbat, shalom. You're now tuning in to Debate Talk for You Radio. I am Gabbar Alaha, and this is Spiritual Food Sabbath Meal, Episode 16. Yes, sir. I gotta keep count this time, man. Every time I'm coming on live, man, we just get so many in. Big shout out to Sal Showtime for allowing us to come on and be able to do our thing. Just want to give all praises to the Most High Yahweh and the authority of His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, who is commonly called Jesus Christ, and to everyone tuning in now, live or playback. May Yahweh keep you and watch over you always. Okay, so today we're going to be getting into the unheard voices of Israelite women. The unheard voices of Israelite women. Got a few sisters that are going to be coming on, and just going to be going through some questions, a couple of viewpoints, and try to get an understanding internally of what these sisters face, deal with, their feelings, thoughts, emotions, beliefs, things like that, saying, so that way we can understand what these sisters have viewpoints on, and how it affects them, the choices that they got to make, the decisions that they're faced with, what they may have to concede or go against, for a righteous cause or for whatever reason, So definitely we're going to be getting into that today. I just want to give a special shout out to all the other moderators that are doing their thing on here. Make sure you check out their content. Debate Talk for You does always try to bring you guys the content for our community that is biblically based, and and more things in general also as well. So with that being said, we're gonna bring on the first sister. We got Sister Ashanti. Sister Ashanti, you're live on the air. Sister Ashanti, you're live on the air. We're gonna go ahead and get started. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
I want to say shalom, shalom, with berachot, mishpaha wahabrim. That means peace and blessings to family and friends. I am Sister Ashanti, been in the walk since 2013. Thank you, Gabbar, for bringing me on. Thank you, Sal, for this platform. Um, I do want to say I appreciate Gabbar opening up this topic. It's very much needed, and as you see, I was coming in from the door, and as a wife, duty always calls. Uh, whether it be talking business, whether it be time to discuss ways to have fun or what to do to recreate, those things are very important and vital. So thank you, Kabar, for allowing me to come on. I'm very interested in other people's perspectives as well. Everyone's dynamic is different. This is a conversation which is a little bit difficult at times for some people to come and be a little transparent. However, these type of discussions can assist those others in our communities who may be facing some of the same issues or circumstances or situations that we've gone through, and maybe we can help people navigate and meander through um, life, come together as a collective community and um, be brethren to one another, help one another. So thank you, Gabar, for bringing me on.
All right, and go ahead and tell them like about your show that you have on here on the platform.
Yes, on Debate Talk for You, I do have a show, a segment called The Second Quarter. It is a title fashioned after Huldah in Second Kings chapter 22, the quarter of the temple she stayed in and she did her collegiate scholarly work from is called the second quarter. If you actually look at that word in Second Kings 22, and she was sent about five priests from Josiah to inquire of the Lord God of Israel, the Most High Yahweh, when the the instructions of the Torah was found, and she actually imparted wisdom and understanding of what thus said the Most High Yahweh to the five priests. So she is a mentor to me, Sister Huldah, in the text. Not a lot of people are aware of her or understand what her role is. However, when you start to look at different elements and aspects of the temple, you'll start to understand. So that show, the second quarter on Debate Talk for You, every month, the last Wednesday of the month, it comes on 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this this season I've had more so interviews on there rather than teachings. So I usually did come on and teach on the second quarter segment, and I wanted this season, this past season, to be more so interviews to have people come on with their testimonies to show the power of the awakening, the power of the Most High Spirit moving. And my other teachings are on YouTube on my channel, 916 Shan Shan. 916 Shan Shan. That's 916 SHAN. SHAN. I do everything on there from teach about how to look at different collegiate sources to better interpret Paul's letters when it comes to misconceptions about women, making sure people understand he's not misogynistic, everything from that to Genesis. And I also share my journey in learning the biblical languages and actually being able to actually go into the text and teach from the biblical languages, actually reading and translating the biblical Hebrew and the biblical Greek. So I have videos showing that as well, where I'm speaking a verse in Hebrew, speaking a verse in Greek, translating it, then interpreting it, or actually translating it, then interpreting it. So that's just that's a little bit of the teachings that I have. I know that was a long spiel, huh? You know.
Yeah. You know, we got everybody here, so you know we're gonna go ahead and get everybody on. So let me go ahead and bring in Sister Isla. Sister Isla, you're live on the air. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. You go ahead, unmute your mic, sis. Go ahead, unmute your mic.
Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Hi, I'm Sister Isla. I'm a mother of four, wife to a husband who's the leader of a congregation called Sons of Isaac Israelite Congregation. I'm a children's author of a book called Prince Benaniah. I'm working on a podcast called Women's First Estate because I find the plight of women and what we go through very important. And I feel that a lot of women are misguided or they don't have the support that they need in order to succeed in this walk. Especially when you read that our women had handmaids, they had nurses, they had people helping and assisting them when they were having children. So our women are pretty much out there alone, and not just our women, but our men as well. Because if the women aren't supported, neither are the men. So I'm pretty simple. I try and put my most into my children and what they, in order for them to succeed better than I have. So I really am big on education. I work for this company called Blue Star Virtual Learning, which probably won't last long because it's really a distraction, but it is beneficial if you are looking to get support for homeschooling. But that's just my little intro.
All praises, all praises. Sis, glad to have you all. And we're gonna go ahead and get Sister Joy up in here. I just want to say, all praise to the Most High, royal title of Zion, man. Shabbat shalom. Glad to have you on here. We're gonna go ahead and get the next sister on, so you can keep the time rolling. All right, we got Sister Joy. Sister Joy, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, sis. You live on the air.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, sis. How's everything going? How's everything going?
I'm a little under the weather, but I'm getting better though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. So I know this is your first time on here, so just go ahead and let the people know who you are and whatever you have going on. If you have any ventures or anything like that.
Originally from California. I am a singer-songwriter, and right now I'm really studying a lot on herbal remedies, on healing. I'm really into that. So, doing herbal remedies that actually help heal instead of having to go to the doctors for certain things. There's a lot of things that you can do for yourself instead of having to do that. Because I even did that yesterday for my toothache, and it actually worked. So I'm like, wow, okay. So I'm just studying more and more about that and doing it naturally. Yeah, but
Okay.
that's about it.
Okay, cool. All right. So just want to say Shabbat Shalom to Michael Paul. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna go ahead and get started, ladies. For everybody that's tuning in on the chat, just always know that Debate Talk for You does not condone any foul language, any disrespect, or any name calling. Those things will have you removed from the platform immediately. So let's keep it clean and let's give all due respect to Sal Showtime's platform. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So so I actually had asked my wife, and she was all like, I don't really know what for you to ask them, but I was all like, well, yeah, I've been kind of thinking about questions and stuff, so I had a few in mind, I think that will kind of, have us journey down a couple of roads. So the first one I want to ask is, so now we as men, when we come into the walk, we have this pressure of feeling like we have to be leaders. Okay. We have that on us. Some of us take it with joy, some of us take it with pride, whatever, so on and so on. But that is there. So, uh, the first thing I want to ask is, uh, for for women, when do you guys in the walk come in expecting all men already being leaders, and or do you understand that with some it may take time for them to relearn how to be righteous leaders according to the scriptures and so on and so forth? I'll pass that to let me pass that to Sister Joy first, since you came on last. We'll kind of work backwards.
Okay. Not necessarily so. I mean, we all grow, so I'm not necessarily expecting him to have that roll down all packed, but I expect him to at least know the major keys of it, because in just studying the word, you should know the basics of it in leadership. But of course, always growing, because we all fall short. So I'm not gonna fault him just because he didn't get certain things right. But of course, you always want to make sure that he's not misleading you or putting you down in a certain way, or making you feel some kind of way because he doesn't know something. Because I know some brothers that actually do that take it out on the wives because they don't know something, and when the wives bring it up to them, then they have a problem with that. But
What you mean, like correction or
well, pretty much like certain things they may have not studied, and then you bring it to their attention, and then they're like, who are you? You a woman, you can't tell me what to do. You know what I mean? So it's like, whoa, no, I'm just letting you know you probably missed this part in the book. I'm just saying, let's read it together or something, like that. Because I've had a lot of sisters in truth that had that, and their men did not take that too well. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, because we all know in part, prophesy in part. So
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and the book has a lot to say. It's got a lot to say, because I definitely be missing points. That's why you got to keep. That's why I tell people, like, I read the Bible all before. We got to go read it again, because you missed a whole lot of stuff. Like,
right,
you missed a whole lot. So
right.
You gotta go back and keep reading it again. Okay. So let me ask a follow-up question real quick before I pass it on. What are you said like the key, like the major points. So what are those major points, those like key points of leadership?
Pretty much how Christ led the church. When you go back and read that, I'm trying to pull it up right now. You're gonna have me pull up my notes. But pretty much how Christ leads the church. I mean, of course, oh wow. Thing in there. Comes with the, certain pretty much like 10 Commandments, if you want to say. I'm trying to get it right now, because right now, oh Lord, it's not letting me in my notes here. Yeah, I have to answer that in a little bit, because I don't have my notes with me right now. But pretty much the basics of it, loving the wife like he loves himself, keeping order, knowing what the order and the customs are, which I find is very important, because I have a book called, Hebrew Customs, and actually shows you our practices that we are supposed to be practicing and why, just the basic rules. I can't think of them right now, but yeah, just pretty much the basics.
Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and pass it on to Sister Isla. Yeah. So same question. Shalom. So same question. As far as like leadership, are men expected to kind of know it, upon entering in a walk, or is it like a relearn process?
I think it depends on if you're part of a congregation or if it's just you and your household, and if it's a new marriage or if it's an old marriage, and based on how y'all deal with each other. Like, for instance, me and my husband weren't together when I came into this walk. We learned together, and then we became husband and wife. So it was kind of idea that he had a basic foundation of how to lead a household. I think as a husband, it's expected that you at least know the laws and how to lead your household. That's the basics I'm coming from when it comes to a wife. You're planning on being a husband. You're planning on leading a household. You need to at least know what they need to know in order to lead them. When
Okay.
it comes to keeping the Sabbath, when it comes to keeping the basic laws, when it comes to telling them when the feast days are. Most women don't know how to calculate when the feast days are. Most women go to congregations trying to figure out when's the next feast. You know,
Mm. And and I know you're speaking from a perspective of being in a congregation because that's where you
exactly.
guys
Even if you're
exactly
not a part
exactly
of a
so
congregation, there are people
right
who are
right.
not a part of congregations that seek other men, other leaders to tell them when the feast days are. That a man needs to at least know how to answer those counsel questions. Because my husband gets a lot of questions from women who are and aren't a part of congregations on how to handle their marriages, because I guess their husbands don't be in the truth. You know, a lot of women that are in the truth aren't attached to men that are in the truth. So those women still seek guidance. They still seek understanding. And as a man, you have to at least know the basics on how to guide someone through the scriptures. You
Interesting.
can't. That's why I tell my husband when he gets to complaining about all these questions that come to him, I say, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And not to say that he's like over everybody, but you have to have a certain head or level head to understand people, to understand the scriptures in order to guide them. You can't take on a leadership position without knowing how to lead.
Yeah, true, true, true. Wow, that's interesting. Interesting. So, let me go ahead and pass it to Sister Ashanti. Because wow, like just bringing that perspective, though, that's really interesting. So Sister Ashanti, same question about the expectation of leadership, for men.
For most subjects such as this, I ask people what is their definition of leadership? Because if you ask people from different people from different upbringings and backgrounds and different ethnic diversity cultures, leadership definition will vary. Everybody has their different standards. I um I believe that leadership is a talent, it's a gift, it's a skill. Either you have it or you don't, and it needs to be honed, it needs to be groomed, it needs to be nourished. So I don't expect the men to come in knowing every aspect or element of what it is to be a leader or have leadership. A lot of times I believe leadership is you are the source, you are the initiator, and maybe you actually understand where other people's talents lie. So for example, Sister Isla said her husband gets all these questions, and I believe that a good leadership skill is to say, who out in the community has this gift or talent to answer this question I may not have the answer to. So you actually look for people who have this gift or talent. You actually put people in that position. You actually navigate people to certain counselors or certain therapists or certain people with certain character traits who can actually take on this question. So I don't believe everyone has to have I don't believe every man has to know leadership 101 off the bat. Everything starts with the foundation. So if he's teachable, if he's willing to learn and unlearn a lot of this Western perspective mindset, a lot of times that's taking our people in a incorrect direction at times. I believe that the man can grow, and I believe everyone in a relationship brings leadership skills. Where I'm strong, maybe my husband lacks, right? Where I lack, maybe my husband is strong. So we come together and create that harmonious balance that I believe was put forth in the garden. So there are times where leadership takes place with him. There are times when leadership takes place with me. However, that's a collective together. So I don't believe they have to know everything off the bat. I believe they come in if they're willing to learn the basic fundamentals and then grow and progress from there in steps and do the work to learn leadership 101, then get to 202, we're good. So I don't believe the pressure should be 100% knowing, because a lot of times our young men, they don't they're not really taught how to communicate, and leadership takes communication. So that basic fundamental principle needs to be learned first before anything. So no, I don't expect a man to come in knowing everything. However, I do expect that man to be willing to learn, to grow, and to collectively come together with somebody and build.
Okay, cool. All right, so all right, so I wanna ask you guys about Proverbs 31, the Proverbs 31 woman. Okay, um, now uh, that's the measuring stick, for women, not even in the truth, but just women in the Bible. I mean, I've heard a lot of women say, I'm a Proverbs 31 woman. I'm a Proverbs 31 woman. So now I want to ask, when it comes to meeting the measuring stick of being Proverbs 31, um, the the day to day task that you guys have to deal with in terms of making sure that you stay in alignment with that. What is that like for you guys? Let me start with Sister Ashanti.
I love my husband. There is no pressure on me. When I got with my husband, he wanted me for me. And therefore, I get to be who I am. I get to be who I am. And he encourages me to be who I am. So I have no pressure on me to do anything but be myself. And myself is a person who loves and supports and encourages anybody that I have a close relationship with. We have no children together. I have a stepdaughter. So, meeting the measure of Proverbs 31 in the aspect of I do work outside, quote unquote, um, that for me, this room is actually my telework office right now, besides the study room. Since the pandemic, I've been put on telework. Sometimes I physically go to the office because I work on computers. So there's really no pressure on me to work. I've always wanted to work to be able to sustain myself individually. So to cover the family aspects, to manage the household, as Paul tells Timothy, I don't have any pressures. I actually get to get up and do what I want. I ask my husband if he wants me to help him with anything. If there's time to communicate and he has questions for me, it's where it's time to discuss something, where it's time to check out some things and examine some things, go over some things. I'm there. I'm there to assist, support, whatever. So I I don't feel any pressure. I'm capable of being a wife because I'm capable of being an individual who brings um, a certain sort of, like I said, harmonious balance to the table. Um, so I work. I bring in some money. Um, I help my husband, like if he's working on something, I help bring him some tools sometimes. Sometimes I'll just, hold something. If his homeboy is not around, sometimes I'll hold something. But it's just being there when he needs, and he's there for me when I need. A lot of people in this walks is Ashanti married? Well, yeah, I don't wear my ring all the time. But you don't really see him on camera. You don't really hear him. He's just like supportive. He wants to be in the background doing his thing, supporting me. So I don't have any pressure. being a Proverbs 31 woman. But I think Proverbs 31 is more so, this is what I'll say lastly, I think it's more so a euphemism, because when you look at Mishle, the word for Proverbs, it comes from mashal, and that means rule or instruction. So it's like a mini Torah, if you will. So I look at the instructions or the Torah as this nurturing woman who guides, who teaches, who communicates, who informs. So who allows for helping you meander to get through the path to the pasture, back to the pasture, which is the temple, the household. So I have no pressure being a Proverbs 31 woman, if so to speak. But that's my spiel.
all right. Let's go to Sister Isla. Sister Isla, are there any pressures with being a Proverbs 31 woman?
I'm gonna be 100%. I was part of a congregation because I've been in this walk for about 11, 12 years, and in that congregation, like she said, there's young men coming in this walk that aren't taught to communicate. So when me and my husband was a part of this congregation, the men were pretty much to themselves learning, while the women were left with the children, and we were expected to make garments, we were expected to cook and still keep up with our studies. So I feel like the position Ashanti's in is perfect because she has flexibility. She has no children. Not to say that if she had children, she wouldn't be able to do what she's doing, but at the same time, as women coming in this walk, because I've witnessed young couples come into this walk and not stay together and have children, and it be like a broken household if they were still in the world, you know? So I feel like when it comes to marriage and it comes to young couples, it's not really elaborated on the purpose of marriage, and the purpose of the Proverbs 31 are how a man should be with his wife in order for those marriages to last long term. Because the main reason why me and my husband survived going through that camp and coming out of it and building our own is because we communicated. We decided that the Most High and His Word is what our foundation is, and that no matter what we go through, we're going to work on our marriage through the good and the bad. And that's what's not emphasized in marriage within this truth with a lot of congregations. They just tell you, okay, you hook up with this person, you with them. You know, you can't shake them. You know, and then you're shamed if you leave and you got these kids, you know. But I feel like being a Proverbs 31 is achievable if you maintain, if you have a strong foundation, if your husband and you have a good communication to where he understands what you're trying to do and you understand what he's trying to do, and you guys, like she said, it's harm, like you guys gotta flow. I think marriage is like a rhythm, it's like a dance. If you guys aren't on the same steps, y'all not gonna be on the same page. And I found that issue when I was trying to do too much within myself and not focus on assisting him, because I also feel like we as women, we sometimes abandon our husbands and we focus on our own dreams. We focus on our own aspirations, and it causes conflict, you know? And your husband's like, hey, what about me? You the only person that's supposed to help me and support me. What about me? You know? And a lot of sisters, they cause so much problems in the home because they feel like they won't be supported and helped if they just focus on their husbands. They feel like he gonna be like, you do your own thing and I do my own thing, but you were supposed to help him. You know? And I think that's the biggest problem right there. We feel like if we don't focus on us, ain't nobody gonna focus on us. But as women, we have this gift to blindside ourselves and not pay attention to ourselves and take care of the kids and the husband, and we still will be okay if we have a strong head. If we have a good husband that knows that we're not paying attention to us, he's gonna make sure that we're taken care of. He's gonna be like, hey, Ashanti, are you okay? Are you okay? You know? He's gonna make sure that if you're not paying attention to you, he gonna pay attention to you. If you support him and pay attention to him and the children that you guys bring forth, you know. But that's how a proper marriage is supposed to be. And that's my spiel.
God. God, definitely appreciate that right there. Yeah, I just want to say shout out. We actually got a couple questions that's coming from the chat. We'll actually get to those in a minute. Let's go to Sister Joy. So Sister Joy, to you, any pressure of being of meeting the measuring stick of a Proverbs 31 woman?
It's constant pressure. I mean, I love what the sister just said too, especially focusing on helping the husband. Because like I was talking to another sister a couple of days ago, and she's like, she started her own business and everything like that. And I was like, but she's like, I want to help my husband start his business. She's like, it's supposed to be a partnership. That's what we're here for. It's instead of working for somebody else, why not work for your husband? I think that's the best thing to actually do. And a lot of women don't talk about, because it's like, okay, you can be a secretary for anybody else in the government, state, world, whatever. But why not be a secretary to your husband? Why don't take those gifts that you learn from the world and apply them to your husband's business? Partnership like that, you know what I mean? So, but as far as being Proverbs 31 woman, it's always a challenge because, things always change. Things are always happening, coming up and things like that. So, but as long as you continually read the word and try to apply it every day, because that's the main thing, is applying it. Because you can read all day, but unless you apply it and try it, it won't stick. So, so that's what I try to do at least. But it's always a challenge. You got your bumps here and there with the husband, but it's like, it's just a constant battle because we in a world where we're constantly battling. And it's like, you don't want that battle to be in the home. You know what I mean? That's supposed to be the safe haven. So it's like, you got to find that partner that actually balances you out and you balance him out. So that way there is peace in the home.
Right. I hear you, sis. What's interesting about the Proverbs 31 woman that I see in the commonality that all you sisters brought forth is, in the way I've always viewed it is like, it's kind of like, I mean, she goes out and, she hustles. She not no lazy woman. Like, like, this is not a lazy woman. This woman goes out and gets it done, as they say in the world, she gets the bag, but, she gets the bag and she brings it home, but so, I mean, that's kind of like how I view it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, you want to have it kind of like a power couple, to where, like, the husband and the wife are just kind of doing their thing, and then they just bringing all that home and they just building up the home. And then eventually they building up a wealth to pass on to the next generation, so via their children, so, yeah, definitely. I like that commonality that all you sisters have brought out, in that. So, let me go to this question that was in the chat. So Michael Paul, he wants to know, what is the woman's view of the Proverb 7 and 11? Of the Proverb 7 and 11. So let me see if I can bring that up. Okay, give me a second. Let me share my screen. And then Sister Isla, she had dropped off, so we'll try to get her back on in a minute. So let me go share the screen. So Proverbs 7 and 11. So let's go there. Let's read that. All right. Let's see. All right. So, all right. Hold on a second, you guys. Proverbs 7, 11. All right. All right. So Proverbs 7, 11. It says, "She is loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her house." Okay. So, we'll see if we can get Sister Isla back on real quick. So as far as Proverbs 7 and 11, let's go to Sister Joy. Let's go to you first.
I'm sorry, that had me laughing.
Yeah.
Pretty much a woman that does not know how to, keep her voice from like she over there cracking up. Sorry. Oh man, pretty much a woman that gives me a headache. I'll say that. Where they're always constantly talking, running their mouths. One of the things I can't stand is where they're always talking about other people, like going to the girlfriend's house, talking about sister and another sister and brother, here and there. It's pretty much a woman that does not know how to contain herself and is always busybody and not really taking care of home, not being at home. So that's what I get from that scripture.
Okay. All right. So, Sister Isla, the brother Micah had asked, what is the woman's view of the Proverbs 7:11, where it says she is loud and stubborn, and her feet abide not in her house? What is the view?
That means that the woman ain't got enough to do. That means that she's too busy being in other people's business, and she's not busy doing the work that she's supposed to be doing at home. Because trust me, when you busy doing the work you're supposed to be doing, you ain't got time to worry about nobody else's business.
All right. Now, Sister Ashanti, now she was laughing whenever I had read that. So, Sister Ashanti, you can go ahead and take the floor on that.
I'm gonna work backwards. On his question. So he said, do any of the women know how to sew clothing? I will say personally, no, I don't know how to sew. I'm not good with my hands. I know my gifts and my talents. I seen this meme a while back, and I'm gonna get to that Proverbs 31 and then back to Proverbs 7. But I seen a meme a while back on Facebook. It's like the brothers ask the women if they know how to cook, and the women ask the brothers, do they know how to build? I cannot say. Well, my husband, he builds tough sheds right now, right? Tough sheds. And what I found out since he has done that is, he tries to actually employ brothers. He's a self-employed contractor, and he tries to employ a lot of brothers, and a lot of brothers don't want to do that. So what I found out is a lot of brothers don't have construction skills. Do I say a man is not a man because he doesn't have construction skills? No. Do I say a man is not a man because he can't install a security system? No. I'm a woman who doesn't know how to sew. Does that make me less of a woman? No. I can cook, but can I burn? Am I a chef? No. But I can definitely make a meal. I know how to follow some instructions. All it is a step-by-step process. You know, a lot of basic math a lot of time. And a lot of time you cook by taste. So I don't know how to sew. However, if there are women in the community who have that skill or gift or talent of sewing, that's their gift and their skill, their talent. My talent is my logic. I work on computers for a living. And then Proverbs 31, he said, he said he has not heard any direct answers about Proverbs 31. What specifically would Brother Micah like to know about Proverbs 31, like he was specific about the verse he wanted to know about when it came to Proverbs 7:11? However, I like to look at context, the surrounding verses. We look at the situation, the circumstance, the geographical location, the people who were being talked to. As I was stating before, Proverbs is a Hebrew word that comes from mishle, and it's a conjugation of the word mashal, and mashal means a rule or an instruction, something to measure by, right? That's what a rule is, something to measure by. But I want to start from verse 1. Can you do that for me, Brother Gabbar? Pull up Proverbs 7, and let's start reading from verse 1 and get the context of who this she is in verse 11, because we got to get who she and her is first. All right, if I may read it, Gabbar. And this is from what version, Gabbar? This is from the KJV?
Yeah.
Okay. My son, keep my words and lay up my commandments with thee. So It says, my son, keep my words and lay up commandments with thee. So this is someone talking to a son right here. Keep my commandments and live, and my law is the apple of thine eye. Bind them upon thy fingers, write them upon the tablet of thine heart. Say unto wisdom, thou art my sister, and call understanding thy kinswoman. So, like I said, Mishle, Proverbs, Mishal is, I believe, a euphemism that encompasses the word for instruction or Torah because it means a rule or an instruction, right? Let me continue. And now, because wisdom is saying, yeah, wisdom is being referenced as a sister, understanding is being as a kinswoman. So it's not necessarily a woman physically like who we are here on the the live stream. It may be personification. It's not necessarily a person. Maybe it may be a personification. Okay, so let me continue. It says that they may keep thee from the strange woman, that wisdom, call wisdom and understanding your sister and your kinswoman, that they may keep thee from the strange woman, from the stranger with flattereth with her words. For at the window of my house I looked through my casement, and beheld among the simple ones, I discerned among the youths, a young man void of understanding. A young man void of understanding, this kinswoman who's being called this understanding, right? Passing through the street near her corner, this strange woman's corner, right? He went to the way to her house in the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark. And behold, there met him a woman with the attire of an harlot and subtle of heart. Proverbs 7:11. She is loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her house. I'm not a strange woman. You know why? Because I'm not in opposition of the Most High Yahweh. The strange woman is the woman or any being that's personified as being in opposition of the Most High. So when it says her feet abide not in her house, her feet don't abide by her feet don't abide by the boundaries of her home. And the boundaries of her home would be what? The temple of the Most High Yahweh. So she is to abide by the rules, principles, regulations of the foundation set by the Most High Yahweh. So that's what I think about that verse. The woman in 7:11, that would be the strange woman, the woman who is going to give you instructions that take you opposite of the path of the Most High Yahweh. And me as a believer of Yeshua, Jesus the Christ, going to take you out of that teaching and understanding of the door of Yeshua, Jesus Christ, to get you back to the path of the house of Yahweh. So that's my answer for that. What up, brother Orthodox Moore? Shalom, shalom.
Sorry, I didn't get the full question. My internet was pretty shaky, but yes, I do so. And no, I agree with her. You can't hold that same standard to every woman that if they don't cook or they don't sew, they're not a woman. I don't agree with that at all. Can you acquire those skills? Yes, absolutely. I mean, who can't learn? But at the end of the day, it's based on the person you choose to align yourself with, who you connect yourself to, and the skills you need her to acquire in order to be a proper wife to you, or the skills he needs to acquire to be a proper husband to you. It's like I said, it's a dance. If y'all trying to build a business, both of y'all gotta have some type of skills or logic in order to build that business properly. Whether you land on the bricks and she land down the motor, you know.
Yep.
Sorry.
It's like, yeah, nah. Like it's like I totally get it because let's just say because my wife, she knows how to make tassels, and I don't know how to make tassels, so like she would have if I wanted to know how to make tassels, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna why go pay to somebody to learn how to do it. And I could just go to my wife and I could just sit down and be under her instruction and have her teach me how to make some tassels. You know what I'm saying? So, so it's like, yeah, what I'm saying? Everybody's not afforded the same skill set. So everybody, saying it's whatever. That's how the body of the Messiah works. Like everybody has a different function. So, you know, you know, when husband and wife come together, you got to figure out those skill sets and have them work to how they see fit.
I think the issue is a lot of times in our walk, men are taught we are the man, we are in charge, and we do the ordering and the barking, and we don't answer to you. And that's where the relationship kind of has a hiccup, because you're dealing with women in a Western civilization that's coming out of the world, that has to learn how to be submissive, that has to learn how to follow their husband's lead. So it's not easily translated that because your husband says do something, or because your husband is in charge, you have to automatically listen to him. But at the same time, you're learning how to humble yourself. You're learning how to follow his lead. So it doesn't help to be like a dictator in your home to a woman who already knows that she could be independent and do her own thing. You know,
Okay, well, let me ask that question. Since you put it on the table, let's just talk about it. I was trying to save it till later, but since you put it on the table, let's talk about the word submission. Let's talk about it. Okay, so y'all see, y'all got me turning in my chair and everything. Okay, so let's talk about the word submission. So now, and I know that. Look, I've been in this thing for a while myself. Like Isla, I've been in it like going on 12 years. So I've been in this thing a while. So I've seen the different perspectives on this word submission. I even understand that this is a thing that's even in the world. That it's something that gets discussed as far as like submission and all that. So for Israelite women, when it comes to submission, is it something that is
a lot of women look at it.
I want to be careful with this. I want to be careful with this. So I'll try to be careful with my words. So submission, is it something that should be like automated? Is it something that should be discerned properly before given over? Is it something that is is it difficult to maintain once it is given? Like, should it, or is it even a right understanding of submission? I'm just trying to saying, like, I want to know, like, like, and whatever that is, like, how does it apply to you guys' situation? Whether you're married, single, whatever. Like,
do you mind if I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so considering me and my husband have been together for a long time, I think it is something that definitely has to be maintained, because sometimes you can go unchecked and be like, okay, I'm good, but you can find yourself in a situation where you are being unsubmissive, even though you think that it's nothing. It could be as simple as you taking charge without taking charge. We as women, we do have a tendency to say, I'll give you an example. If you know your husband is a quiet, silent type, and you tend to speak for him because you know how he thinks, right? He may be okay with it, but it may not be okay. You get what I'm saying? My husband, for example, he's strong, he's silent, he's to himself, he's a homebody. And I know how he thinks. And sometimes I have a bad habit of talking for him, and not in a bad way, but talking even though he doesn't want to speak. And I had to learn that sometimes I have to step back and let him take charge, even if he really don't want to talk, And it's not necessarily that he doesn't speak for himself, but sometimes he's just don't want to be bothered. And I have to realize, just sit down. He got it, And as women, sometimes we have an issue with that and not taking over, even though we know we can, We know we can do, we think we can do what he do, even though he's supposed to be doing what he's doing, And we find what he's doing a lot simpler than what we got to do, And us as women, being helpmates, we want to help. we want to do what we need to help in. And sometimes our help isn't necessary. Sometimes the way we want to help is not the way we're supposed to be helping. And I had to learn that as well, you know. I had a bad habit of that, to where I'd reach out to someone and be like, hey, my husband, he has a congregation, come join, you know. And then my husband be like, okay, we'll deal with this later on, you know, because this person don't seem like they really want to be here. You know. So I had to learn that as a woman, that even though his job seems like something I can do, I shouldn't be doing it. You know.
Right. Okay.
And that's something that takes time. It takes practice. It takes, like in First Corinthians, it tells you that you have to constantly evaluate yourself. You know, you have to constantly make sure you're in the faith. If you're too busy doing his job, that means you ain't doing yours. You ain't focusing on your job. Your job is to help. If he don't need your help, do what you need to be doing, studying. Study, read, apply, and focus, perfect you, because that's our main issue. We're not just outside of the home, but when we feel like he ain't doing his job, we emphasize, do your job better, you know, instead of looking in the mirror and looking at ourselves and trying to do our job better. There's times when my husband be like, when you gonna make me another garment? I'm like, I'll get to it. You know, but when you gonna cost such and such, right? So let me backtrack a little bit. Let me backtrack a little bit on something that you said. Going back to submission. So you were saying,
yeah. So as you know, I'm just trying to figure out, like, if when it comes to the submission, like, is it something that presents itself in a negative aspect initially, then it becomes something that's actually something that, okay, nah, this isn't that bad after all, or whatever, or like I said, like, because some people may have different understandings on submission, on what that word is and everything. I mean, so we can get to all that, but I'm trying to figure out, like, you know, saying whenever this is even presented to you guys, like, what kind of space does it even put women in? You know what I'm saying? Like internally, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just the whole concept of it itself.
When I was learning about submission, I was single, and I thought that it would be a smooth transition, right? Then I got married, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. But the challenging part is when it comes to him being in charge and saying, okay, no, that's not happening. And it's like, dang, I am under your authority. That's where the hiccups come. Well, it's not even a hiccup. It's a revelation. Like, okay, I'm not in charge. That's how it is. But it's not really that challenging when it comes to someone who has it in mind that I have to be submissive. Because if you expect him to lead you and guide you and be held accountable for your soul, you got to make it simple, not only for you, but for him as well, because he has to give answer to Yahweh Shai on how your soul is. So, I mean, it can be challenging for someone who is brand new in the faith and someone who don't really understand their role, because they still have to understand that he is that protective hedge over them. You know, I
just want to say something real quick. I just don't want, like, I want to say something real quick, because you brought out a point, which goes back to a question that I had brought out earlier about, like, you know, the whole leadership thing and all that stuff. Because, you know what I'm saying, like, we as men, you know, I can say that we as men, like, when we come into this, you know, like it is on us to be leaders and all that stuff. Like, that's what's kind of like on us, even though some of us men understand that you got even some brothers who just aren't equipped with those skills. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are some of us brothers who do understand that, you know, you know, but at the same time, you know, like, again, like that pressure is there. So, and when we are actually exercising that role, there's a lot of huge responsibility, because, I mean, we're not talking about from a worldly aspect, we're talking about from a spiritual aspect. So souls are on the line, You
Yeah.
know, so yeah, you know, so a lot of souls on the line. So
And your
we
wife
as
was in
husbands,
first though. Yeah.
right? You know, so me as a husband, because you know now I'm speaking for me as a husband. When me as a husband, yes, I'm like, all right, I'm the covering in my home and everything when I pray over it and all that stuff. And you know, like I understand, like you know, saying the structural aspect even coming from the Torah. You know, what I'm saying, like as far as like coverings and all that. So, um, uh me being that first line of defense, I'm like, all right, there's there's a lot of pressure there. Sometimes, you know, sometimes there's pressure there when you're faced with, I guess, what the scriptures would call temptations. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And temptations come in many forms. You know, like it can be in the form of a pleasure, in the form of anger, or whatever. It's whatever you're tempted with. So, um, you know, whenever we are faced with those things, it's kind of like, all right, we have to make these certain decisions and all of that. You know, like sometimes we have to be abrupt. You know, sometimes you can't communicate. You got to make an
Yeah.
abrupt decision. You know, so when women are faced with that, you know, in the home and all that stuff, but still understanding that, okay, well, you gotta be in this submission role and all that and everything. Like that's where I'm kind of like trying to like figure out me personally, and maybe somebody else as tuning in is trying to understand that too. It's like, okay, well, they still have to make choices, you know, because everything comes down to that at the end of the day. When you're dealing with the Most High, is a choice, whether it be for men or for women.
Yeah.
So, with the choices that you guys are faced with, you know, like,
How do
and
we
this
handle it?
aspect, right, with this aspect of submission being in play.
Me personally, I've done my best to surround myself around like-minded people. Um, there's an old saying that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it also takes a village to maintain a healthy person. You know, you need connections, you need counsel. I mean, you have one good counselor, but you also need someone that's going to hold you accountable of how you behave. That's in the faith. I wouldn't lead that to someone who doesn't follow your same faith and your perspective, you know. But if there's someone that can hold you accountable of your actions, like most women, their husbands hold them accountable, and most men, they have other men or elders that are over them. Now, if you are alone, you need to get attached to someone who you admire and who you value their opinion, that would hold you accountable to a degree of what you should and should not be doing, because that way you won't fall short of those goals, those accountabilities. Because when you're not attached to anyone, that's how you fall subject. That's how you fall into those temptations, and you have no one to rely on.
All right. Okay. Okay. Let's go over to Sister Joy. Sister Joy. I don't want to keep you at the sisters out of the loop of the conversation. So it sounds like you got a lot to say. So I'm gonna just
Oh
let you have
yeah.
the floor. Yeah, it's all you got a lot to say. So I felt it. I felt it from the little chuckle. So let me hear what you got to say.
All right. As far as submission, if you look at Ephesians 5:22,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at the key word submit,
Mm-hmm.
to obey, be under obedience, subdue, in subjection to, submit self unto. So to submit to your husband is pretty much trusting your husband's decision making. And I feel like if you're going to get married or be married to someone, you're going to know how they work, because you're going to be in like same operation. You guys flow as one. So say if there's something that comes up in the household, like there's an emergency, and you guys look at each other and you just know right away, and your husband's like, do this. And you have no question, because you know his look on his face says, okay, this is something serious. You need to jump now and do what I say. Don't question me. Don't sit there and battle with me. Look, it's serious. And that's about the main thing. It's all about trusting his decision making. And if you marry that man, you trust his decision making. So it's easier to submit to someone that you trust, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's the main thing I was looking at. And also, like I said, moving as one. You're going to automatically, it's easier to submit to someone that isn't, barbaric, and you know that he's doing it out of the good for the household, period. It's just really knowing him and trusting him. So it's easy to submit to a man like that. But when you got some men out there, there's some other sisters I've had talked to where these men are misleading these sisters, doing all kind of craziness in this walk. And it's like, that's when you have to actually go outside of, marriage and talk to other people, get counseling for that, because it's a lot of madness going on, in this
Right,
walk
right,
with our sisters. So, but
right,
it's
right.
just trust, basically trust.
Okay, so well, that presents two questions now. So let me go with the first question. Um, so in terms of, let's say you have a brother whose intentions are good, whose intentions are good, but just like how brothers have to deal with accountability and all that stuff and everything, also, sisters likewise have to deal with the same. So if a brother's intentions are good, but yet the sister still doesn't have the I, I don't know. I don't know if submission is necessarily a skill that's got to be learned or acquired. I don't know if your sister necessarily agree with that or not. But let's just say that she doesn't know how to do it. She doesn't know how to submit. Let's just say that she doesn't know how to submit, and the brother's intentions are good. Then like what should that sister then do? Like in terms of, because like because I know, like, sometimes the brother is a good brother, but then the sister is just like, for it could be for whatever reason, I guess, I don't know, trust issues, whatever. So I mean, because I understand that, like, our sisters that come into the walk, that is a thing too. Some of them coming from broken homes, and no fathers there, and or abusive stuff, like, I mean, it'd be a lot of stuff, man. I mean, like, sisters be getting touched whenever they was young. I mean, like, I know the stories. Believe me, I know a lot of, I've come across a lot of women, quite a few, that have dealt with that, with, like, being, like, molested and all that stuff, and it's not something that even talked about amongst the quote unquote black community in general, but it does happen quite often. So but I don't know, for whatever reason, saying the brother's intentions would be good, and the submission part, at least from the aspect that is understood, still doesn't happen. So then what is a sister or a brother to do? What I'm saying, coming from you women's perspective, Joy.
Pretty much have patience. I mean, we're all supposed to have patience with each other. You know what I mean? I know it takes time. You can't expect someone to actually be submissive when they don't even know how to submit in the first place. They have to know the definition of it. They have to actually study scriptures of it, see how, the men are supposed to submit to the Most High. And, that way, when she sees that he is submitting to the Most High, she can trust him more so. So, and then also studying, and actually, this is a main thing that I've noticed that I don't see a lot in marriages. Y'all, we don't pray enough together. You know what I mean? That is so key. Without that, because that's the glue that keeps us and helps us actually overcome any situations that may, come up in the marriage. And it's just having patience with each other and seeking counseling together. Especially when it comes to, like, because I've been in abusive situations and things like that. So I have a lot of traumas that I'm still dealing with myself, and I'm actually getting counseling for it. But it takes a long time to actually get to a point where, you can actually be agreeable with each other. So it's all about if that person's going to have patience with you or not. Because, I mean, he wants the Most High to have patience with him, just like you. So we're supposed to have patience for each other. And it's just simply coming down to prayer, patience, study, talk things out, and just come to agreeable terms.
Okay.
That's my take on it.
Okay. So now, getting back to the abusive men.
Mm.
Now, you have some situations where that I've heard,
Mm.
where that goes on. Now to my understanding, at least in the congregations that I've heard, that's not condoned. in the congregations. But of course, everyone's not in a congregation, as it's already been established. Every sister's not in a congregation. So, um, uh, what should, as when you hear those things, Joy, when you hear those things, like how does that, what kind of resonates in you internally, whenever you hear those things that go on?
Like abusive things, situations.
Yeah, right, right.
Oh, mm.
Because
'Cause
because because and this is in relation to the whole submissive thing. I think some men do
mhm.
have the submissive thing kind of wrong, especially if that's going on, so um
Well,
yeah, so yeah,
pretty much it's use of wisdom, because I mean, if you're in a situation where it's life threatening, of course you got to get out. You have to. I mean, I don't see how the Most High will justify that. And you gotta. That's why you gotta have a prayer circle. You gotta have some. If you don't congregate, then at least have people that are like minded around you that you can talk to, because so those situations can be very traumatic.
yeah,
You
and
know.
and I'll share a story. Like this happened back in like 2014. I had got an email from a sister who was talking about how the brother that she was with was abusive and everything, and sometimes these sisters, they get manipulated, with with a scripture saying that, with the whole, you know what, let me take that story. Let me come back, because that's leading into something else. Let me go ahead and take that story. Let me move on to Sister Ashanti. But we go come back to that though. We go come back to that. So all right, so Sister Ashanti, okay, submission. Let's come back to that for a second. So when the term, when the aspect of submission was first presented to you when you was coming into this, you know, uh, what did that what did that mean for you, and has it since then transformed and you know meant something else for you, and or how do you apply it? Like what is the whole thing with you and submission?
Nah. um,
He's like, I don't know.
that shrug meant the whole submission talk. I didn't. Yeah, when I got with my husband, we didn't talk about that word, and we still don't unless it comes up in these conversations.
Mhm.
Our marriage dynamic is unique to us. And what works in our four walls and in our relationship works for us. We do not try to impose our dynamic onto other couples. So I will say this about submission, though. That always goes back to what the sister said in Ephesians. It goes back there.
Yeah, Ephesians 5.
And Ephesians 5.
Mm-hmm.
And she started with verse 22. I
Mm-hmm.
always like to start with verse 1. However, if you start from verse 1, you run into verse 21. And it actually says, submit yourselves one to another.
Right. Okay.
A lot of people like to skip that verse, verse 21. Now, I will say this because I study the Greek, and not to say that anybody else doesn't. However, the Greek is very special in that it details specifics a lot of times, just like the Hebrew. There could be one English word you see all the time. However, when you trace back that word to its Hebrew or its Greek, sometimes the words don't have the same meaning. And such is thus with the word submit. So in the Greek, I don't have my phone because usually I have my notes in there. I had to give my husband my phone. He's having some technical difficulties with his. But the word
Now, that's
submit is
trust right there. Man,
absolutely.
I love that. Go ahead.
So hippotasso. Hippotasso is the word submit there in Ephesians 5. And hippotasso actually is a war terminology. It's a warlike terminology, meaning to like an army would array themselves in an order. They would choose to arrange themselves in an order to go to battle. If
Okay.
you actually go back and look at that word hypotasso, and so a lot of people don't understand that word has choice. When you take it upon yourself, when you hear something, you take it upon yourself to choose to arrange yourself in an orderly fashion so that you can go to battle, brings a different perspective to
It
what
actually does.
we've been taught about what the word submit mean, right? And
Okay.
then there's the word hippokio. There's the word hippokio. So hippokio, that would mean like obey an actual command and you don't have no choice. Do this or else. That's hippokio. So, and I like submission. Let's take this ring for example. When a man says, "Will you marry me?" to a woman, right? What do you see him doing? What action do you see him taking when he has this ring and he presents it? He's on his knee majority of the time. So that's initiating a submission. I don't think any of us looked at it from that angle. He's submitting. So that puts a man in that servant, that initial servant. He's saying, I submit. And then the woman can what? Submit back or reciprocate. When you go, I don't know how many people have a garden, right? But when you go outside to the soil, to the garden, do you say to the garden, and the dirt is
Sound like your mic is kind of going out. Sister Shanti, Shanti, sound like your mic is going out. Hold on. Can you guys hear?
oh,
No, no.
oh,
Yeah,
oh
so
wait,
sound like
wait.
your mic is
Okay,
going out.
okay, okay, okay. What
Oh,
did
okay.
that was my mic. What did you guys last hear? What did you guys
When
last
you
hear?
say to the soil is the last thing we heard.
Yeah, we heard
Okay,
we heard
okay,
soil and it was all done.
no problem. When you go out to the garden, to the soil, do you say submit to me produce right now? Give me produce. Give me vegetables. Give me fruit. And the soil looks back at you and says, okay, I can yield to you produce when you source me with a seed. The soil can submit produce when there's a source of seed. So that's what the word I would say. When we look at head in the Greek, when you look at head, every time you see head, it does not go back to the same Hebrew word, and it does not always go back to the same Greek word. So head, a lot of times when Paul is talking about it, it's kephali or kephale, if you want to pronounce it in the Erasmian or whatever. That means the source or the origin or the beginning or the originator of something, the initiator, right? Head on a body, it stands out, right? It's at the height, it's at the top of the body, so it stands out. It's the most prominent thing you see. It's the representative for our body, right? I watch a lot of crime shows, and a lot of times, if the head is, you know, decapitated, it's kind of hard to identify the person, right? When there's no head, right? So I don't have a problem with submission. This is a harmonious balance. There's give and there's take. There's give and there's take. Sometimes I initiate the giving. Sometimes he initiates the giving. And that's out of love. Now, I will say this. in Ephesians 5, and I'll wrap it up with this. In Ephesians 5, it says, the verse 22, people start there. It says, wives submit. And then you go a few verses down, and there's more verses after you go down and look at, well, man, it says, man, love your wife. And then it has more instructions for the man there than for the woman. However, just because that passage does not say women love your husband doesn't mean we're not supposed to love our husband. We just hear submit.
I'm glad you said that, sis. I'm
Right,
so
and then
good. Good. Okay. I'm sorry.
and then for the man, just because it says, you know where I'm going with this. Go ahead.
No. I'm glad you said that because some women in Christianity believe that they don't have to love their husbands; they just gotta like submit to them, but they don't have to love them. Like
And vice versa.
I've actually heard that concept before.
Some men say, well, that passage only tells me I got to love my wife and not submit. Well, do you need this passage to verbatim say you need to submit to your wife for you to submit to her? Nah. So this is just about, it's about common ground and commonality, and sometimes logic and reasoning. We look at certain things that nature does teach us. So yeah, just because a verb or a passage does not tell me directly to love my husband, don't mean I shouldn't love my husband. And just because a verbiage or a passage doesn't directly tell a man to submit to his wife, he's actually submitting when he's the actual servant, the initiator, the source of that seed. He's submitting, he's giving, he's willingly giving. That's what Christ does, willingly be that initiator to give, to nurture, right? So that's what I want to say. But yeah, I don't have no problem submitting, but we don't talk about that word. We just live and do and, collectively apply what works for us in our marriage dynamic. That's what I had to say.
Okay. All praises. So Sister Ashanti, let me, because I know you versed in the Greek. So let me throw something at you real quick. So in regards to Genesis 3:16, where it says, her desire shall be to thy wife. Okay. Now I understand what the Hebrew word says there. But I know you're versed in Greek. So now in the Septuagint, it's translated as submission, right? In the Septuagint, it says, "Thy submission shall be to thy husband, not thy desire," right? So I don't know if you've ever looked it up, but if you have, can you share any information on what conclusions you've drawn on that in terms of where it says Genesis, and I believe in the Septuagint it might be verse 17 or something. Sometimes they rearrange the verses a bit in the Septuagint, but yeah. So can you share anything on that if you have anything?
Yeah, I'm gonna share that, and I do want to bring up something that a sister Barbara shared, and I'll bring up Genesis 21, but Genesis 3:16. That's simple. It's simple grammar, and what happens there in Genesis 3:16 is a curse on the function. However, there is grammar to understand what's a commandment versus what's a result of something, right? Genesis 3:16 is a result of something, because in Genesis 3:16 it says, and he will rule over you, right? It's talking to the woman actually, right? So when the Most High is talking to the woman, the Most High is saying, this is what's going to happen, right? When there's a commandment or a request of somebody, it's directly given to the person it's requested of, right? So if that was a commandment, the Most High would have said to the man, the Most High would have been talking to the man, and the Most High would have said, you shall rule over your wife. If that was a commandment, right? If that was a commandment,
so you say it's more prophecy than command.
It's a description of what's going to happen. The woman is being told what's going to happen to her function, because you notice the male and the female are not cursed. The actual ontological serpent being is cursed, and the ground is cursed. So the source from whence the male and the female come from is cursed. The ground is cursed, but their function is cursed. So the function is cursed, not necessarily them. So it's saying as a result of this thing, this is what's going to happen. So, and in the Greek, I forget that word. I don't have my phone, and I could quickly reference it on my phone. But the word there in the Greek, when it says your desire shall be for your husband or whatever, it's saying you're going to have a turning. You're going to have a turning to your husband. So I've looked at that in a different scholars or whatever. From what I can recollect right now, that is saying that your turning may be to your husband to be the Most High Yahweh, instead of actually turning to your husband to be the entity he was created in his purpose for. It may be that you're going to turn to this husband and look at this husband like he is supposed to be the Most High Yahweh, instead of Ish to your Isha. And because that same word there in the turning or the desire is also used in Genesis 4 when it's talking to Cain. It says your desire, you have to, your desire is going to be to sin, but you're going to have to overcome it, right? So that thing is a little bit tricky there. That thing is a little bit tricky, but I do want to read something from Genesis 21, verse 12, right? Genesis 21, verse 12. When Ishmael was mocking Isaac, and Sarah said, "Put him out, put Ishmael out, and this servant, this woman servant," right? I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna tell you what the Most High tells. And people kind of skip this, but it's in the beginning. But this is Genesis 21 and 12. It says, "Vayomer Elohim el Avraham, al yara be'enecha al hana'ar we al amatecha kol asher tomer elecha Sarah shema bekolaki beyitzak yikara lecha zara." So that is like Elohim el Avraham, and Elohim said to Abraham, pretty much, do not let it be evil. Yara, do not let it be evil benecha in your eyes. Al hanaar, against the young lad, wa'al, and against amatecha, and against your maid servant. Kol asher tomer elecha, all that which she shall say to you, elecha, Sarah, right? Shema bechola, hear and obey her voice. Hear and obey her voice. Ki beyitzchak, because in Isaac, Yikra, is your seed called. Because in Isaac your seed is called. So Abraham did a Shema to Sarah. Why? Because it was in the Most High's will. So whatever is in the Most High's will, that's who you go with. Whatever's in the Most High's will, that's what you go with. Same for Abigail in 1 Samuel 25. She went against her husband. And because she went against her husband, her life got spared and her husband got killed. And she was given as a wife to David. Right? So it's about what's in the Most High's will. It's about learning to discern the Most High's voice. The male and the female are to pray, do some introspection, and learn what the Most High's voice is and what the Most High's will is. Because sometimes the man is right, sometimes the man is wrong. Sometimes the woman is right, and sometimes the woman is wrong. My My husband has told me certain things, and because I have my own brain, I have my own mind, I'm built with a choice. I was like, nope, nope. And that's what happened with Rebecca. Rebecca was told that prophecy individually to her that two nations were going to be in your womb, right? Two nations going to be in your womb. So sometimes the Most High gives things directly to the woman that he doesn't give to the man. And sometimes the Most High gives direct things directly to the man that the Most High doesn't give to the woman. So it's up to everyone individually to understand and try to get that wisdom and discernment on when to hear the Most High's voice. But
Okay.
that's my take on Genesis 3:16 and that whole rulership submission thing. But
Okay.
but but look, I'm gonna check this out. I'm gonna say this. A lot of men just want somebody to do like Coming to America, right? They want the woman to just and say whatever you like, not knowing that we
Hop
have
over leg.
right. We have our own brain. We're still individuals. We have our own brain. We have our own mind. We're not gonna go outside of anything that is not good for the collective, right? But that's where it is when you're courting somebody. Learn what you can trust. Only get together to build with somebody you can trust. So yeah, that's my long spiel.
Okay, so all right, so let me because I was actually gonna I was wondering if I should bring that up, but you kind of touched on it, so I'll go ahead and address it. So let me turn it back to the sister Isla. So Sister Santi brought out a point about uh you know the Most High will go directly to the woman, you know with something, as opposed to going to the man first and all that. So we also see an example of that with Samson's parents, okay, where the angel visited the woman. The angel didn't go to the father. The angel went to the mother. Okay, so we see certain things like that. So when the Most High comes to you directly with something, um, before coming to your husband with it, uh, what then do you do with that? And I mean, like, I don't know how often it's occurred, if it's occurred at all or whatever, but if and when it does, or when it has happened, what would you do or what have you done?
What I would do is I would take it to him and tell him about it, and we would discuss it. I mean, me and my husband have a great communication, and when I feel like something needs to be addressed or something needs to be talked about, I bring it to his attention. Like she said, a lot of brothers think that women are supposed to just be quiet and just follow lead, but we do have opinions. We do think, and we do feel like we need to share how we feel, or we're following your lead, but we're not. Have you ever seen that show Handmaid's Tale? Handmaid's
I've
Tale
never,
is the
I've never
perfect
watched
example. Okay, so there's a show called Handmaid's Tale where man basically took back over the world, and women are just womb bearers, and they're just supposed to follow the man, But the way they paint it is just so barbaric to where the average woman in Western civilization wouldn't just go with it. And it got so bad, so the women's mouths closed, and say they just bear children. And there are men out there that want women to be like that, just follow and bear children. But as melanated women, lively women that Exodus describes us as, we're not just follow blindly, which is oh shoot. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're kind of going out a little bit. You're kind of going out a little bit.
Uh-oh. It's freezing up.
Okay, okay. Well, let's do this.
One minute.
Yeah,
Okay.
while you get that
Okay,
fixed,
there we go.
you got it. Yeah,
Uh,
you still kind of cutting,
shoot.
in and out. All right, so let's do this. So let's go to Joy. Let's go to Joy. Joy. In terms of when the Most High comes to you for something, it doesn't directly go to whoever it may or may not be in in your life. How do you proceed with something like that?
Well, first of all, you got to make sure it's coming from the Most High.
Okay.
Because sometimes, I hear this a lot. I have a brother that says that the Most High told me to do this today. How do you, it's scripture clearly tells you that nobody has spoken to the Father. So who are you talking to? So she over there cracking up. But I'm just saying, you have to confirm it. You have to use wisdom. You have to use those scriptures to confirm that it's from the Most High. If it's not in this Bible and it's not backed by scriptures or other scriptural sources, then I wouldn't bring it up, because you can cause confusion in your home that way. So, but if it's actually confirmed, it's like, okay, you come to your husband, hey, I got questions about these scriptures. Let's talk about this. Like, can you explain this? How do you see this? And let him tell you, and go from there.
Okay, I like that. So let's go back to what you said, like how it's gotta come from the Most High first. Now, I've witnessed brothers and sisters do this, where they kind of feel like the Most High is just leading them into something and everything. So now, we as Israel, we're very strong-headed people, and once we feel like we're like supposed to be heading in a certain direction, we'll do it, even against sound wisdom and counsel, and advice, we'll still do it anyway. That's just how we are. And I'm pretty much everyone on here, as well as everyone tuning in, has done that at some point in their life. So now, when you see women who are doing certain things online, whatever, in person, or like whatever, and they're saying that they're being directed by the Most High to do such a thing. When you identify that, what do you then do? Like, or what comes into your mind? What is your thought, and then what action do you take?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
I've actually had that happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with a sister, she was decided to start doing tarot card readings, and saying that she was led by the Most High to do that. And I'm asking her, like, so I inboxed her because I saw it on her timeline. I'm like, sister, what are you doing? And I just, gave her a couple of scriptures to look over. She's like, well, I feel like the Most High is leading me and telling me this. And I'm like, but what scripture did he show you this in? She's like, oh, he didn't know. I just, I prayed about it, and I felt in my spirit that it was okay. I said, the devil can do that too, but she's like, no, I feel like, I got a direct connection with the Most High, and he's showing me, what to do with this. I said, sis, I just gave her scriptures, and I just said shalom, because at the end of the day, you can only do so much, and if they don't want to hear you, they don't want to hear you, but at least you told them. So that's pretty much my take.
Okay. Yeah, because, and look, I have to say this. A lot of sisters. I mean, because you know what? Let's just go to the next topic. Because I was gonna ask this question anyway. Let's just go to the next topic. So I'm gonna just bring it up and read it. So let me just bring this up and read it real quick. I'm putting it on the table. I gotta switch over to this one. All right, give me a second here. Sister Ashanti over there rubbing her hands like it's a campfire or something.
You about to bring out the juicy. It's time to get juicy. And brother Micah. If I can answer his question while you pulling that up, he said, what's wrong with the type of woman who says whatever you like? My husband doesn't like me being indecisive. Like when my husband asks, hey, babe, let's go out to eat. What restaurant do you want to go to? What do you have a taste for? And sometimes he doesn't want me to be indecisive. So that whole whatever you like, sometimes he wants maybe to get a variation of things, because maybe he had a restaurant that he favored that didn't come to his mind off top, recollect quickly or whatever. And if I say, hey, oh, let's go whatever restaurant you like, and we could go back and forth and end up doing that for an hour and not eat. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, but the whole whatever you like, sometimes it really may not be in the Most High's will. But like, that's why I believe Brother Gabbar brought it up. When you do whatever you like, sometimes you can get into certain things where it's some sort of a manipulative, abusive type of thing. And so you do have to have discernment in saying, hey, let me let me weigh out the checks and balances here, instead of just saying whatever you like. However, the Most High built the woman, and we do have a brain. We have our own brain. But when we get married, the Most High doesn't have this switch and shut off the brain. Like, that's what some people think. Like, oh, okay, now you have this switch with your brain where you only give sex, silence, and submission. Well, we still have to do our function. It's still built in our DNA to do the original function when the Most High built woman, the female. So that's what I want to say real quick. Go ahead, Bar. I apologize.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Everyone answer it briefly before we move on to the next subject. In terms of your own brain. Now, I'm under the understanding that when submit one to another, two becoming one and all that, like, you actually no longer have your own brain, the man or the woman, because now you're supposed to be coming into the same mindset. Have a meeting of the minds and having the same mindset. So whenever you come into that, how do you create that harmonious setting in you guys' home? Or how would you do that in terms of being of the same mind and having a meeting of the mind, having an agreement on things and stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I understand that it's actually two individual minds, but it's coming together to form one thought, in the home. So how does that concept apply into you guys' home, and from the female aspect? Because we as men have our way of how we try to come to the table with it. How do women come to the table with that? Let me go to Isla. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that comes from the foundation of your marriage and what you build it on, and based on how you continue to communicate, and that'll make that transition a lot smoother on how you guys further continue to agree and think and move together. If you staying on the same page, I mean, we're not always going to be think the same or be on the same page, but ongoing communication and ongoing talking will basically make that a whole lot smoother to be one.
Okay. So there's, and I believe I asked this before whenever you and your husband had came on. And whenever there are things that are being opposed, how do you then like find a way to get on the same page or get on the same mind as your husband? Sister Isla, if you're there. Did she drop off? Did everybody drop off? What's going on? Everybody went mute on me. Sister Ashanti, are you there? Let's see.
Hey, if you could give me about 10 minutes. I do need to help my husband with something, so give me about 10 minutes, please.
Okay, no problem. All right.
Apologize.
As you see, they still got. As you see, still got duties to take care of. As you see, hey, we keep it real over here. This is like the real housewives of Hebrew women or something, but they still got stuff to tend to.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. As I was saying, as far as when there's opposition met, like and I believe I asked you this before whenever you and your husband had came on. Whenever
Yeah.
there's opposition met, what what do you then do on to try to get on the same page, with your husband to maintain that one mind, that agreement, that harmonious uh uh vibration in your guys' home.
Um, my main way of staying on track and following my husband is knowing that he's the head of the household. He guides us. Like Sister Ashanti says, he's the source. You know, and brother Micah, I have no issue with my husband fully guiding our household. Uh, he works. I'm a stay at home mom. He's pretty much in charge. Um, So as far as us staying on track, I remember my role. I remember um, if I feel like we're off track and we're not on one accord, we communicate. We find out where the hiccup is. We find out why there's a disconnect. When we try and move forward from there. You know.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like it goes back to self-evaluation. You got to do the same thing in marriage. You got to constantly tune it and evaluate it and make sure that you guys are on the same page. You guys are trying to reach the same goals, which ultimately should be the kingdom.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I definitely like that. And what's interesting too is what Sister Isla is kind of showing is that trust that is there with 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 her husband. In terms of uh, allowing his decision making to be guided by the Most High. And trusting that the Most High is leading him in the choices that he is making. Um, I think that's what submission really is. It's for at least for the woman, is not so much that she's submitting to this man and whatever he want to do, but submitting to the will of the Most High, and how the Most High is leading her husband. You know, um, and granted, everything is not transparent in terms of the outcome. Yes, there needs to be transparency in terms of relationships, and I mean, in terms of communication, slack in terms of communication, there needs to be transparency. But as far as the outcome, I mean, unless you a prophet, you can't always predict the outcome. Like you can have insight
That's
on.
true. That's true.
So yeah, so that's where I guess where that faith comes in. Just being obedient to the fact that the Most High said to operate this way, function this way, and I'm going to do the rest. So um, but moving on, let's go now. I don't know if Joy, Sister Ashanti, if they've come back yet. I know Sister Ashanti said that she needed like 10 minutes.
I
So
just want to say one thing before you move forward. You
yeah.
have to realize that in marriage, a woman is the husband's first baby. And the reason why I say that is because the Bible said that you're supposed to love your wife as you love your own flesh. So if you love yourself the way you groom and take care of yourself, you're going to love your wife just as much. So the amount of love and care you put into your wife makes it a whole lot easier for that submission and that union and that communication to be a whole lot smoother.
Right. Yes, indeed. Okay, so like I said, I know Sister Joy has come back, but let's go ahead. Let's put this on the table real quick. So let me pull this up. Um, so we got First Timothy chapter 2. I'm going to start from verse 9. It says, "In like manner also that women adore themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with braided hair or gold or apparels or costly array, but that which becometh women professing godliness with good works. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman, being deceived, was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. Okay, so Vinny's like, duck Gabbar. Nah, okay, so it's just a side to I don't know where she was. She said she needed like 10 minutes. But
okay, I can do what I'm doing.
Hold on. I see.
I can do what I'm doing, but I'm here. You know.
Oh, okay, I got.
Just gotta do something real quick. But whenever you need to come to me, I'm here. Go ahead.
Okay, got you. All right, so all right, so he said duck. All right, let me stop this screen share real quick. Okay, so now I'm putting this on the table because so since we've been going live, I mean a couple of these things got addressed. What's being spoken there? A couple of things got spoken on that's being addressed there. Some things haven't. The first thing I want to ask, and I'll go back to Sister Isla first on it. Let me ask this first, because I think I'm gonna have to ask each sister a series of questions when it comes to this. I don't think I can just ask a blanket statement question. So let me go Sister Isla first. Okay, so when you first came into the knowledge, or even before you came into knowledge, like maybe you already knew about the scripture or something. So what was your first impression of hearing this? Just like reading it, whether you was in the church or you was in the church before you became a Hebrew, whatever, whenever the first time you heard it, what was the first impression?
When I first heard it, I needed someone to elaborate more. Like, are you saying that I can't talk at all when I'm listening to the scriptures? What are you saying? Then I got the understanding that married women were the ones who weren't allowed to speak in congregation settings unless their husbands gave them the okay to ask questions. And my husband doesn't have no problem with me talking in a congregational setting when it's not an issue with brothers who don't mind women asking questions and speaking. I think it's like Sister Ashanti said, it's based on your husband's, based on your the way your household is set up, because some men be like, no, I don't want you saying nothing. I get why that scripture is there, because a lot of times sisters can get confused in congregations that their husbands don't lead, because there is a scripture in Ephesians that says that if the wife must learn anything, let her learn it from her husband. And a lot of the brothers tie that back to Genesis, where they say that that's how Eve got confused, and that's how they fell out of God's grace and basically ultimately got kicked out of the Garden of Eden. I do understand it, because it does minimize the confusion. If you're not learned and you're not versed in the scriptures, and your husband isn't at a point to where he's okay with you learning from other people, which I don't know why, if your husband is versed, you should be learning from other people. But I think when it comes to a woman teaching, in Titus, it tells you what you need to be teaching. You need to be teaching other women how to maintain their households, how to love their husbands, how to be chaste keepers at home. If you have the knowledge and understanding to teach beyond that without confusing people, because at the end of the day, when you're leading and teaching people, their blood is on your hands. So I am perfectly okay being a housewife, learning from my husband, and not teaching people, except for the things that pertain to a woman. I am perfectly okay with that. I do not need bloodshed on my hands, and that is what I have to say about that.
Okay, so you just sliding on to the base. It's like safe. Okay, so Sister Joy, I don't know if you're back yet. I don't know if you're back.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so let's talk about it. It's just like I actually want you to stay on too, so I like at any time, because I want this to kind of be like a well-rounded conversation. So, all right. So, what was your impression of this whenever you first read it?
Well, when I first read that about keeping silence, I mean, it's kind of like, it made sense to me, because it's like, okay, pretty much have respect for the lesson that you're listening to. And As far as speaking, it's like you got to be careful of what you say and how you say, because it can easily be interpreted wrongly. And since you are a reflection of your husband, if you say something out of order, it's going to have him looking a certain way. So that it's pretty much using wisdom in that stance. So that way you're not shaming your own household by saying something that's not correct. And if you have no understanding of certain things, you know, write it down and then go to your husband about it and just have a conversation about it. You know, not necessarily going to another man or, you know, questioning a deacon or whatever like that. You know, ask your husband. Maybe your husband, if your husband doesn't know, he can ask him, the deacon, for you.
Okay. So do you and I'm not asking this because I necessarily believe in it. I'm just asking the question. That's why I make it clear. If you were with a man who really didn't want you, you know, saying too much, you know, would you be okay with that? Would you be like, well, nah, I want to do this, I want to do that? Like, I'm just, you know, like, what would you deal? How would you deal with it? And then he would pull this scripture and say, hey, well, look, you're supposed to be remaining silent, you know, so don't be doing all that talking. What would you then do?
Well, it makes sense though, because it's like, okay, if you're talking to other people or other men or something like that, you can end up bringing confusion in the house. And so you got to respect why he's saying that, and even ask him why. There's nothing wrong with a woman asking, so we can get an understanding. That's the main thing. It's like most women are easily guidable once they understand. It's like, just explain it to me. Okay, you know, I'll do it, but I just sometimes people just want to know why.
Okay, you make it sound so simple. I don't know. You making it sound so simple.
It's
like
not. It's not
just
simple.
that
It's not simple because it depends on the woman. It depends on how she was raised, how she was taught. Because there's a lot of women that are like, you know what, I ain't gonna listen to you. Who are you to tell me that I can't talk this? Who, and I can't say this, and I can't. I got a voice of my own. You know, that whole independent woman thing. But it's just learning, understanding the scriptures and why women are supposed to be the way they are supposed to be. It makes sense. If it makes sense to you, then you can easily apply it. If it doesn't, then you're gonna be, I'm gonna do this. You know, I'm gonna, loudmouth. You know, it's just so.
Okay. I mean, but I'm so. I mean, you do have some women in the Israelite community that don't necessarily agree with it, or may have a different understanding of it.
That mostly comes from the fact that a lot of people learn different doctrines, and that's why a lot of people clash. Because if you're a Israelite coming from one doctrine and you marry an Israelite from another doctrine, you guys are going to clash because you don't have the same understanding, and because one is going to have to yield to another, or there's gonna have to be some type of compromise, you know. Because there was a couple that was a part of my husband's congregation that married. They had 2 sons, and they ended up separating because the wife started listening to another Jake and his understanding, and they separated because of what this brother said to this woman. And she didn't get the understanding from her husband. She didn't get the clarity from her husband. She just took what this man was saying, and it caused them to break up, you know. So that's ultimately why I think that scripture is there. You know, you want to make sure that you and your husband's foundation is solid. You want to make sure that you trust what he's teaching you. And that's the ultimate reason why a lot of women question what they're being taught, especially if they originally had other men teaching them besides their husband, and then they get married. Now you have to learn to trust this man who is teaching you and guiding you, you know. Originally I wasn't being only taught by my husband. Originally I had elders, so I had a lot of questions when I got married, and they used to get on my husband's nerves, like, why can't you just trust me? Because I had elders, and it's not that I don't trust him. I'm going to have questions because I was a single woman before I got married, coming into this knowledge. And that's one thing that I encourage a lot of brothers to be patient with when they're marrying these sisters. And you can't expect them just to turn off their brains and stop the questions when they get married. You know, you can't expect it. That's what you fell in love with. You fell in love with a woman who fell in love with the Most High, who fell in love with the Word, who studied for themselves. You can't expect them to stop that once they get married. They're gonna want to still learn. They're gonna want to still study on their own. You know, so that's it.
Huh, and that's an interesting point that you bring up in terms of having elders, because that's a key element in what's missing in a lot of these situations that these people get into, is because we had a whole cultural aspect in how these laws and how these concepts that we see in scripture were applied. And sometimes what I think happens is you get this isolation of scripture, and then there's a whole dogma that's kind of like put behind it, to kind of be used as a vehicle to push a certain narrative forward, without really understanding the cultural aspect of everything and stuff like that. Because you know uh, if these women that we read about in First Corinthians, let's just say if they were like, dealing among their nation, dealing among their people, then there's going to be elders and everything and stuff. And even us just commonly are taught to just don't be getting loud with our elders and this and that, whatever, and stuff like that and all that. So naturally, like, you wouldn't be doing that, 'cause that would be a form of disrespect. If we were amongst our elders, amongst our kindred, where they were doing things and stuff like that. But I do also understand that Corinthians, well, in situation with Timothy, and even going into Corinthians and stuff like that, First Corinthians 14 and 40, where kind of the same thing is being stated by Paul. Those are situations that are going on as well. So, but um, so basically Paul wouldn't be addressing it if it wasn't a problem. Basically, because it is a situation that is going on in these places that he's writing to, and these individuals that he's writing to. There's obviously situations that are going on, so he's responding to something. I learned years ago that Paul's letters are actually response letters, to what's being presented to him. He's responding to situations that are going on, in these places that he's writing to. So, with these particular women, there was something that was going on that wasn't supposed to be going on. I believe if they were speaking the words of the Most High, and everyone was operating, and and everyone was in harmony and all that, I don't think Paul would have even addressed it. He wouldn't have even addressed it at all. He would have addressed other stuff if the words of the Most High were being spoken and everything was done in order and all of that. But obviously it wasn't. You had a lot of disorder, and to what Sister Isla was saying, obviously some type of different doctrine or teaching or something was being brought in that was going contrary to what they had learned from the apostles. Whenever they came into their cities. So, but let me go ahead and pass it on to Sister Ashanti. She's back. She's done with her wifely duties. Whatever that was. So, let me go ahead and pass it to her. So, when you read this, what goes on with you internally? Do you get mad? You be like, what? I ain't shutting my mouth. I ain't about to say. I'm about to say what I want to say. I'm gonna do what I want to do. Or I mean, I'm just kidding. But yeah. Right. So you get the bobblehead going. Right. So yeah. So what goes on with you, and does it present an issue for
No, it doesn't.
you?
uh, you know why? Because again, I study the Greek. And like you said, Paul's letters are response letters to people with different laws. They have land laws. People don't understand. There's more laws than the Torah here. When the letter to Timothy was being addressed, these are people in Ephesus, and if you know the social political construct of Ephesus, you'll know there was definitely some laws of the land imposed on them by the Caesars at that time. A lot of people don't realize that, but in First Timothy, I don't get mad about that. First Timothy chapter 2, because I started reading from what chapter 1. So there's some sort of false teaching going on, and then in the first century CE, we have to understand what the false teaching was. Now, the word the woman should learn in silence. It says let a woman learn in silence. Well, people don't understand. It says let a woman learn. However, that word, like I said, has hesychia. Hesychia in the Greek. It's what it's what students would do in a classroom in order to grasp what's being communicated to you, in order to comprehend the lessons being taught to you. You have to be quiet so that you can be attentive and focus. That's what the silence there is, hesychia. It's not shut up. There's a different Greek word for that. That's what people don't realize. And then the whole woman can't speak in church thing, that 1 Corinthians 14, that's actually from the Talmud. Paul was well versed in the Talmud, so he's actually quoting something from the Talmud. He's actually quoting an oral law and then actually rebuking it right afterwards. So it was an oral law that in congregations, men sit on one side and women sit on one side, and the women should ask their husbands questions at home. That's an oral law from rabbinical Judaism. A lot of people don't realize that. Now, if you want the source on that, I can give you sources. I just got to go look them up in the Talmud. There's like 3 sources, but I did a video on it on my channel called "I Was Wrong About 1 Corinthians 14." However, the whole the whole thing about woman learning in silence, it's woman learn in attentiveness. Learn in attentiveness so that you'll understand what the doctrine is, what the actual foundational doctrine is that Paul was trying to teach to the people. These are newcomers to the faith. These are newcomers to the faith, and they're in a geographical location where they have to actually still keep the laws of the land while trying to keep written Torah or the written instructions of the Most High Yahweh given to Moses or Moshe. So, and you know, brother Micah, I'm gonna address brother Micah again. Brother Micah, for anyone watching, I'm saying my opinion as to what goes on in my house and in my relationship. I don't impose the dynamics that work for my relationship on anybody else. I think that's an issue with Israel. We try to superimpose our will on everybody else. We're actually trying to understand these texts as much as we can with the information we have, because none of us actually directly talk to Moses or any of the prophets. You know, we're 2,000 years removed from these people. So we're trying to understand this thing the best way we know how. And I believe that that would be, I think it would be a benefit to give all of us a little bit of grace, right? A little bit of grace in trying to comprehend and understand. It's difficult trying to peel back the layers of Western society, trying to get back to this. However, everything about this Torah with the time frame, I don't believe we're going to get back to everything 100% exactly like they did it in the Torah, because things have technologically advanced. Because right now, if we were going to go back to ancient ways 100%, none of us would be on this internet. You know what I mean? The children of Israel did not have the internet. So me as the woman, as the wife of my household, this is how I work. This is how I operate. I don't mind how any of the ladies, the women here operate. I don't mind how any of the men operate their house. You know, just that's not imposed on my house. And if anybody there, I mean, you know, and this is what I'll say lastly. This is what I'll say lastly. My husband is very supportive of my total being. He's very supportive of this. He actually brought me back my phone because he was listening to this live. He was listening to this live and he heard me say, "Oh, I don't have my phone to look up my word." You know, so he brought me the phone back and I was like, "Well, your business is important." He was like, "No, you need this so you can look up the word." And I was like, "It's fine." So I'm me. but get to know me. Like when you get to know somebody's character, their likes, their dislikes, you're actually having a conversation with them. And that's a lot of the times missed when you're courting someone. Get to know that stuff. You find out what you have in common, and you find out what you can come together on and collectively build on. So like my husband likes one brand of ice cream or one flavor of ice cream. I like a different flavor of ice cream. But that's a minor thing. There's other things we have in common. We like coming together and getting money. You know what I mean? We love coming together and getting money. So we always putting our heads together on that. You know what I mean? So we work out a lot of kinks, but other than that, yeah, I don't have a problem with First Timothy 2, and I don't mind anybody's interpretation of it. It's just, please don't try to impose your interpretation on me without actually having to go to the actual Greek words or the Hebrew words, or go to the social, political construct, geographical location, the people, the time frame. Look at the context. That's what context is, the circumstances, the situation. So, but yeah, that's my take on that. I apologize for being long-winded there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to touch bases on that reference from the Talmud. That's actually my first time hearing that, actually. So I need to actually vet that and see what's going on. Let me ask this question. So we're coming up on about 2 hours. We'll actually over 2 hours now. So we'll start to bring it to a close in a while. Let me ask this question to everyone. What would you guys have to say to single women, young single women, or even just single women in general, that may be new to the faith, new to the walk? What would be, if you could say one thing to them, what would it be? The one most important thing, and this is based upon you guys' experience, highs and lows, mistakes, lessons learned, and all that. What would be the one thing that you guys as women would say to the other sisters that are new to this? What would be the one thing? Joy, we haven't heard from you in a minute. Let's go to you first.
The first thing I would tell them is to take your time, don't rush into anything. Truly test their, fruits, try them, because there's a lot of, misleading going on. So it's like, take your time, don't rush into anything, and actually see if that person is really about what he say he's really about. Because some men use these scriptures in the wrong way, and just pretty much, just take your time, don't rush.
Okay. Quick follow-up question to that. Let's say these sisters, they decide they just don't want to deal with a man. They just want to be single. They just don't want to deal with a man. They just want to focus on the Most High and their own well-being. What would you say to those sisters?
I mean, I haven't run into any sisters like that, because all the sisters I know want to be married. So I don't know.
They all
want to be. Yes,
want a man.
I mean, I did have one. I'm not gonna go into that one. That one scared me. But talk
about it.
Okay, this one sister that was strong in the word. I mean, she came in like when I first came in the truth, like 2012. She was strong with the word.
Mm-hmm.
Few years later, she turned gay, left the faith and everything, because she couldn't have her way, because the elder told her she can't get married because she was already married. And so, yeah, she just totally got.
She was married, and then she ended up. So she was married to a man, and she left out, and then I'm assuming she got divorced or whatever. And she ended up liking the same sex.
Yes, she left the whole Hebrew faith, everything. She's she's doing all kind of crazy stuff, and so it's like, I mean, I haven't ran across. Well, I know there's a single women out there right now that have gone through a lot of traumatic stuff, so that they don't want to deal with a man anymore, even in the Hebrew faith. And with those sisters, I just tell them, just stay in the word, stay cautious, but who knows, the Most High might open up your heart or heal your heart to where you actually do get married. It's just have patience with yourself and just keep, that communication open with the word, Most High, and let him guide you. That's pretty much what I would tell him.
Okay. Okay. All right, Sister Isla. Like, what would you say to these sisters out here? If you could say one thing to them, what would it be? Oh, and she dropped off. Let me pass it to Sister Ashanti. Let me take it back to her. So what would be the one thing that you would say to these sisters?
See if they were raised by a father in the household or some sort of male type figure. See how their male nurturing upbringing was. See if they even had a father in the home. I find that very important because that type of man definitely has been taught, and he's been giving a living example. He's been shown a living example of how to treat a woman and how to be with the woman. And besides that, I would say when you're courting, definitely use gauging questions to see if they would like children, how they want their children reared, see if they're even open to marriage. Actually see if they're open to marriage, because some just dating just to get in private places, um or for convenience to private places, I should say. Ask those intimate questions. See if they have standards, ethics, working standards and ethics, to see if they have some drive, goals, and ambition. See if they are driven to be entrepreneurial. See if they're even open to having some sort of faith. I would say. So those are the main things. And like Sister Joy said, take your time. Take your time and ask yourself why you want a relationship with a man. Do you want to get married just for the sake of being married, just so you can say, "Oh, my husband, my husband, my husband," to everything? So those are the things I would say to the young sisters. And actually use your mind and do listen to the elders. However, have some discernment on what certain elders are teaching you, because some information is really dangerous, I should say. If you hear some of the things my brother tells me about, some of the women he said, I mean, he's dated or whatever. He had a woman tell him she should not date potential. And I was like, man, oh man. I was like, my husband dated potential because I was actually living out my potential at the time. So, and another woman told a guy, well, you have standards like a female. And I was like, a guy should have standards. So certain elderly advice, you definitely would go to the Most High and ask for discernment if they've given you wise words or wise counsel. So that's my take.
All right. And Sister, so let me ask this question then. In terms of single women, if they're not looking for a man, like, what would you say to them? What would be the one thing you would say to them?
Is that me
Yeah,
still?
yeah, yeah.
If they're not looking for a man,
Hmm.
a lot of the times when they're not looking for a man, the Most High sends one. I.e., that's what happened to me. I was so focused on work, music, and school. I wasn't looking for one, and the Most High sent one my way.
So, 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 so,
That's what I
so,
was saying.
so if they not looking for one, one is gonna come. That's what you gonna say to them. Like, one gonna come to
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Okay.
because women who are not necessarily looking for one, they're focused on what they need to do to be the women who they are purposed to be. And actually the Most High is setting you up as this individual, being prepared to be a wife at the time you're single. A lot of people don't realize that sometimes. So that's what I would say. A lot of times the Most High actually sends you one when you're not looking, when you're actually getting yourself right in right standing, Most High actually preparing you to be ready when that one finds you. But that's it.
All right, all right, all right. Sister Isla, you're back. You're back. Okay. So what would be the one thing you would say to these sisters out here?
As far as if they're looking for a husband.
Just anything, just all the way
Okay.
across the board.
Okay, for sisters who are looking and desire to be married, I would say not only take your time, but get that person around your loved ones. Get around their loved ones because you'll hear what they say, you'll see how they interact, and if that's the type of person you really want to be with. That was the whole purpose of courtship. For you to get to know his family, for him to get to know yours. Is this the type of family you want to be joined to? Because a lot of times you get into these marriages and you get in laws that you can't stand. Or you get the perfect in-laws, but you can't stand the man you attached to. You know, um, a lot. I keep hearing a lot of people say you don't know a person until you live with them, right? But that's not necessarily true. You can honestly get to know a person with time and with patience if you pay attention to their words, their characteristics, their likes and their dislikes, and you can find out if that's the person you want to be attached to. Because that bond is supposed to be until death do us part, and a lot of people really don't take that seriously. They think of it as a temporary means to satisfy a temporary want. They don't think of it as um a long-term contract that doesn't end until you die. I mean, there's a scripture in Romans chapter 7 that talks about how a woman is bound to a husband until he dies, and they don't take that seriously enough. You look at these marriages like they're temporary. You're having children, and these children are seeing these temporary relationships. How are they supposed to take marriage seriously if you don't? We have to set a better example, a better standard for marriage. There's not too many fish in the sea. In fact, women outpopulate men. And a lot of women don't realize you don't have a large surplus of men to choose from. So I'm not saying beggars can't be choosers, but if we really supported the men that we loved and backed them up, they could be greater than what they are. You guys are looking for these six-figure, fine, handsome dudes that turn out to be devils instead of looking for the humble servant that just want to serve the Most High. So what? He can't go out and buy you a brand new spanking car. How about y'all build together to where y'all can get a car that y'all can roll together in? That's the biggest issue in Israel. Like Sister Shanti said, a lot of brothers are getting on sisters about not cooking and cleaning. And yeah, that can be an issue, especially if you're trying to bear children. The house needs to be somewhat decent. And you looking at him like, can you build a house? Well, can you help him acquire those skills to build a house? He may not have that knowledge. He maybe could help you find a cookbook. I think it all comes to being considerate and helping each other out. You not only have to go with your brother, you got to go twain with your wife. That's your rib. If that's your rib and your wife, you got to look out for these brothers. And that's my last little
All right. Kind of cutting out at the end there, but yeah, I heard you say that was that's your last little bit. Uh, so I know Joy, you said that there were some questions that some sisters had.
yes.
Um, yeah, Joy, I know you said that there were some questions that some sisters had. So let's get to those questions real quick before I get to the last thing I'm gonna say to you guys. So what are the questions that some sisters have?
Okay, one sister asked a question. She says, "What if you're married and your elder is telling you to do one thing and your husband's telling you to do another? What should she do?"
That's an interest. That's interesting. That's actually a pretty interesting question. You know, well, first I'm gonna let you sisters answer it. Let me give you the my perspective, being me being a husband. Let me give you my answer to that first. Uh, I mean, I'm a priest in my home. Just tell you straight out. Like when it comes to my home, I am the high priest. So that's just how I get down in my home. I am the high priest. But with me being a high priest, I bear a great responsibility. So I got to make sure that things are in order. I got to make sure that that things are being done a certain way. So whenever an elder comes with something that's in variation to what I'm trying to establish within, I mean, it depends on what it is. It really depends, because there have been times where I've had to disagree with the council of elders. There's been that time. And for those of you who ascribe to the apocrypha, I mean, it sometimes elders. Well, this is what I've learned. And I was actually talking to Isla's husband Karash about this, like about maybe like a week ago, about how for our generation, because myself and Isla's husband Karash, we're in our 30s. And so let me bring Sister Isla back on. She dropped off. So like we're in our 30s. So we have elders that have been in this for a while, and then we got younger ones that are coming in. So we're like the middle child. So because we are the middle child, we're trying to balance what the elders have taught us, along with correcting what the elders got wrong, and also trying to make sure that we're teaching the younger ones, and then whenever they bring information to us, because new information is always coming out. It's not always right, but it's still always coming out where you got to re-examine some things and stuff. Which is something I think that should be done. You should always go back and re-examine whatever doctrine or teaching that you have. You should always go back and re-examine it, especially when new information comes about. But so if that's when you got to go to the Most High. That's when you got to go to the Most High, because ultimately that's the counsel you're supposed to concede to. You're supposed to concede to the counsel of the Most High. Now, if the Most High is moving through individuals, empowering them with his holy or set apart spirit to be able to speak something to you, then that's the Most High's counsel that's doing that. That's ultimately what it is. That's the source that's doing it. So so then in terms of something different being said, it's like, all right, well, the elder may be saying it for a particular reason. I mean, like, you as an individual, you being in a household and all that, you got to go vet the matter, or as the scripture says, as the Torah says, to make diligent inquisition when a matter is brought to you, just like the judges did. You got to make diligent inquisition. Don't just be like, oh, okay. And that's why I think a lot of times some of these brothers do. They just trust wholeheartedly in the council of elders. When the scripture says to not do that, you don't trust wholeheartedly in the council of elders. Yes, you do trust, and you do go to elders for counsel, but don't put all your marbles into that bag, because elders can still steer you the wrong way. You got to trust in the counsel of the Most High. That's why you got to study. That's why you got to give special attention to your reading, and yes, the elders should understand that when they're bringing something to you, that you're going to scrutinize it. You are going to scrutinize it, because we all got to answer to the Most High, But if the elders bring a sound counsel, then by all means, concede to it. Like, make that change if it's right. So let me. But that's how I would deal with it from the husband's perspective. The wife may be like, no, we need to do it this way. So let me turn it over to the sisters, and let me give them the floor, because they may have a different perspective on it. So Joy, so since it was your question, you go ahead and answer it first. Go ahead.
Oh, honestly, for me, it would have to be, let the word answer it. If he's telling her to do something and the husband's saying, no, do it this way, that's when you have to actually really pray and go to the Father, go in that closet and get to praying and search that word. And then, because, maybe the husband might be telling the wife something that's wrong, and the elder might be saying something that's right. or it could be vice versa. So it's like you have to use, wisdom and actually just discernment and search the scriptures, and then just talk it out with the husband, especially, But yeah, I would say seek the word, because he confirms it. When you pray and you cry out, he will confirm it. He will. I mean, that's the best advice I can give.
Okay. All right. Sister Isla, you might have dealt with this. You might have dealt with something like this before. Being married, being in prayer congregation, being under the the subjugation of elders and their counsel and stuff. So how did you guys, if that situation ever came up, how did you guys
Let
deal
me give you an example. There was a sister who was a part of a congregation, and she used to fellowship with another congregation, and the congregation said she couldn't fellowship with them for a feast. But her husband gave her the okay to go. So she chose to listen to her husband and go to the feast. Those are minor situations where I really didn't see an issue with her going to that feast, but the congregation probably found it a issue, being that you're a member, a part of this congregation, you should be fellowshipping with them. So I think it just depends on the situation, on what it is the elder is saying you should and should not be doing, on if you should listen to that elder or your husband. But ultimately, your husband should have the final say, considering you live with him and you want peace in your house.
Okay. 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 All right.
Because you
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying you don't want war in your house over minor situations, and disagreements that don't need to be necessary. If you trust your husband, you trust his judgment, and you trust that you guys are going in the right path, it would basically be, ultimately, I would say pray on it, like she said, but ultimately, is this somewhere that you both fellowship? Is this somewhere that you guys are constantly going to be? Or is this something that's a temporary, okay, we just here for a minute, and this is an elder that isn't really necessarily my elder. He's just an elder because we're fellowshipping with them. But ultimately, you teach me and you lead me. It just depends on the situation, because not everybody's situation is cookie cutter to where, like, okay, I'm a wholeheartedly listen to this elder over you, or I'm a wholeheartedly listen to my husband over this elder. It's just different situations.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. Sister Ashanti, how would you deal with a situation like that? You might have got something where, someone that you might have subjugated yourself to, at one point when you were early in the walk, where it was teaching you one thing and your husband wanted you to move in a different direction. So if it might have happened, it might have not happened. But if it has, or if it ever did, how would you, or how have you dealt with it?
This situation has not happened to me. And this situation probably would not happen to me. That's because I have my own brain. The Most High gets the final word. Um, the Most High gets the final word. Um, my dynamic is different for this whole thing about my husband. My husband is very different. A lot of people don't understand him. And me being in this Israelite walk heavy, these are all my books. None of them are his. I read to him the Hebrew and the Greek and translate. A lot of the times I know more of this than he does. And what he does, and he has done one time, is, hey, I don't like when he does it, but I get a crack out of it. He like, man, my wife will bust you up with the word, bro. Don't even go there. You know what I mean? He has said this to some guys. I don't say nothing. I just be like, yeah, I don't want to do that right now. I don't Bible bang. But um, my husband is cool with whatever choice I make, and like the congregation that I visited a Messianic Jewish congregation that was Russians. So the service was in Russian and Hebrew. He did not go with me. There's a congregation that I go to often. Before the pandemic, he didn't go, and I didn't force him to go. But he is in this walk Maybe he doesn't go to service all the time, but he's doing what he needs to do for his personal relationship. So in this case, I mean, I I get a take from elders, I get a take from my husband, and I'm always going to follow the Most High and what the Most High has imparted to me to do. Brother Vinny is funny. He said you used to Bible bang, you know what I mean? Bang the Bible like a rifle, you know what I mean? No, I didn't. I used to bang the Bible in the sense that I would tell people to leave me alone and that they would try to run my household. I just don't dig when another man try to, when I say man, I mean human being. I don't dig when somebody tries to run our household. Like just because what works for your household is cool for you, don't mean you just gonna run up in here in my four walls. You know what I mean? And breach our boundaries. That's not cool. But in this case, I would listen to the Most High. Definitely. Sometimes I have listened to my husband in certain situations. I have listened to the elder in certain situations. It just depends on, like Sister Isla said, the circumstances that are surrounding what's going on. So I always do that. I used to go hard on the Sunday Christians. What do you mean by that, Brother Vinny? I try not to go hard on the Sunday Christians because all of my family is Sunday Christians. All of them. But I always approach them with love. But anyway, back to the question. Nah, I go with what the Most High says. A lot of times I am that rebellious woman. I am the rebellious woman in this walk, in that I listen to the Most High and I utilize my own brain. I listen to whoever the Most High is telling me to listen to at that time, whether it be um, whether it be my husband, whether it be an elder. Sometimes I listen to homeless people because they have something to say. You know what I mean? You never know who the Most High is working through. You never know who the Most High is working through and imparting that wisdom to and imparting that knowledge to. So that's what I would say. That's my answer.
All right, all right. Okay, so Joy, what's the next question that sisters had?
Um, okay, there was one this sister said she's new in this walk and she just got married to a brother that belongs in a camp. And she's unsure about, some of the things that he's teaching her. Like, what advice would you give her?
Mm, okay. Well, let me give, the male perspective first. If she's unsure, if she's unsure about, I mean, you gotta ask questions. I mean, you definitely gotta ask questions, and if you're not sure, then um, no. So you said the sister's already married, correct?
Well, she just got married. She
She
just
just
got
got
married. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't want to be. Feel like I need. It feels like I need to probe to figure out more information, but I know, but I know I don't want to do that because it may unfold other things. So
Yeah.
so let me yeah. So I don't want to do that. So let me just say this then. If she's unsure, then what she should do is, she's a part of the congregation. She should definitely at least go to those elders that are in that congregation and affirm the things that are being taught. If that's not what it is, then so be it. I mean, I don't know how the congregation has their protocol set up, because congregations have protocols set up a certain way in terms of getting the elders and asking questions and all that stuff, whatever. But um if she feels that anything that's being taught is a sin or going contrary to the Most High's word, it is her duty to say something. I don't care what the protocol is in the congregation. We go and give what the Most High says. It is her duty to say something. If she does not say something, if it is not, if it's not, if what's being taught to her, if it's being presented where it could be a potential sin, then she needs to say something to someone. I would say yes, she should go to her elders. Even if she's hesitant, she should still do that. Because if it is something being presented as a sin, or it could lead to a sin, you want to put a stop to it before it begins to fester and grow and it becomes like a cancer. Okay, so you definitely she should definitely say something. If it's about some other stuff, I mean, that's why there's Google. Go look it up. Again, it's like this is one thing that I try to exercise the sisters, especially. Is the sisters got to be sharp in the scriptures, probably more so than men in this time, because a lot of sisters are getting played. A lot of sisters are getting played, even if they don't have a desire to teach or whatever the case is. They don't want to be this, they don't want to be that. They just want to be in the background. They're not trying to be on camera, whatever the case is. And you still got to be on point when it comes to scripture. So if they're new, if they're unable to go to the elders, I would just hold your peace and study it out until you are confident in what conclusion you come to. If the Most High leads them into the same agreement, then all praises. I hope that whatever that the teaching isn't something that is unrighteous. If it's something that is righteous and she's just not understanding it, then she's just got to go look it up. She's got to go study. She's got to go and investigate. And hopefully she has the tutelage to do so. And there's lots of free resources to do just that. What I don't suggest that she do, and this is the common thing that sisters do. Y'all may disagree with me. This is something that I don't think sisters should do. Sisters need to stop going on social media and asking a question about a teaching that her husband is showing her that she doesn't agree with. Then she goes and puts it on social media. Hey, what does this mean? Because I'm telling you, sisters will post stuff post a question online. Not, and no one knows why she's asking a question, but in reality, it's something that her husband stated that she doesn't agree with. So then she goes and seeks worldwide counsel. That's basically what social media is. It's worldwide counsel, and you're not supposed to get counsel from everybody like that. So she should get with trustworthy people to get that understanding. Again, it would be the elders. But if it's sin, she needs to call it out. If it's presenting itself as sin, she does not need to hesitate on that. She needs to call it out. And even if she gets some pushback from whatever congregation her husband is a part of, at the end of the day, she's got to do what the scriptures state. And if it's sin, you gotta call that out. So, but let me pass it on to let me actually let you have you answer it, Joy. Like, what do you say?
Well, I actually it's funny. She actually posed this question in a Christian group. So, I had inboxed her because she's new to the Hebrew faith and she wanted more information about it. And I'm seeing all these other people telling her all kind of false stuff, scaring the poor girl. And she's like, "What do you mean polygamy? What do you mean?" Like all these different doctrines that she's not used to coming from a Christian faith. So I, inboxed her and let her know certain things and, gave her advice on what to do. Even, just little things like that. But she's studying on her own and she's trying to, figure things out. But she can't really go to the elder because she's not really part of the camp. So she's like, reaching out to other sisters that are in the faith that actually understand it more so that can explain it to her. But yeah, she's scared right now because the brother has a bunch of different doctrines that she's not used to, especially, with the whole, even holidays, so. But,
okay. So she
Christian. Yeah.
So she got those kind of questions.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's those kind of questions, she can go look it up. To confirm it, she can just go look it up. Just type it in her phone. Hey, what does this holiday mean, or whatever. They brought the information out, and then it's like, because I'm pretty sure whatever the brother is bringing out, I'm going to assume that the brother is bringing out something that can be vetted historically. If it's something about holidays,
well, not just holidays. She was the multiple wives. The whole thing about yeah, because she got he brought that to her. So she's like, and they just got married. So You're right.
Man, it's just because I find myself dealing with this topic over and over again, and it's like I was actually gonna avoid asking that.
I was trying to avoid that.
Because I'm like, man, it's been discussed, but
I say
Yeah.
ask it. This I think we can answer the hard questions. It's a
ready?
part of reality. I'm ready.
all right, well,
I'm
okay,
ready. I'm ready, and I stay ready.
um, well, before we get there, before we before we get there, since you said that, I'll go back to the other thing I was gonna talk about. Let's just pass it on to the other sisters, just a real quick. 'Cause I don't need, how many more questions does she have, Joy?
I'm
Or
sorry, I was busy laughing.
yeah, like how many more questions are left? How many more questions?
I don't have that many. I was gonna save them for later because some of them are a little, be long to answer.
Okay, all right. So let's go around to the other sisters for that question. Just the Isla. But no, wait. What was? See, now I'm not.
The question was how do you address, right? Because she just got married and she's trying to find out if what she's learning is correct, right? What I would do if it's not a sin, I would tell her to do your own research. Make sure you're still in your scriptures and study it to verify what they're being taught. If you can't verify it, if you don't properly understand it, get guidance. Like you said, I do agree with your answer, but if it is a sin, stop it and make sure it's not something that can't be discussed, something that can't be learned. If it isn't a sin, if it's something that's according to scriptures, according to doctrine, learn it, study it, and get a better understanding of it. A good friend of mine, we were talking about feast days and how people calculate them, and she couldn't properly explain to me at the time how her congregation calculated how they kept Passover. So she waited until someone did a video to explain it, to tell me more about it so that she can explain it. And that's what I suggest sisters do. Excuse me. When you can't properly understand something, ask questions, learn, study, and learn all you can learn. Ask your questions before you open your mouth and speak against it.
Yes, I agree. I think everybody should do that. Everybody should do that. Sister Ashanti, not sure if you stepped away or not. But if you are there, same question. If you are there, if not, we'll come back. Okay, yeah. So we'll come back. She stepped away. All right. So polygamy got brought up, and then there was something else. Oh, okay. She said to come back to her. All right. So I guess we can talk about polygamy. Let's talk about that for a second. Now, well, let me get my position on it. I mean, for anyone that's tuned into Debate Talk for You knows that me and my co-hosts have actually we don't approve of polygyny. It's the proper term is polygyny. So we don't actually teach it. We've done videos on it. Sister Ashanti's actually done a video on here. So I believe that our position is solidified. You guys can just come back and listen to those videos that are in the archives if you want more understanding on that. So in terms of polygyny, I don't know if sorry, I'm getting text messages. I'm getting told that I don't want that kind of smoke. So when it comes to the topic of polygyny, no, I mean, because this is something that needs to be talked about. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but it got brought up anyway. So let's talk about it. Polygyny. For you sisters, however you may understand it, whenever a man is presenting polygyny to a sister, who is in the walk or is married or whatever, new, or maybe been in it for a while, if 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 they come to you sisters and be like, hey, this brother is asking me to, be a second wife, or he wants to bring another wife in or whatever, like, what should I do? Is it lawful? I mean, also, I know those type of questions come up. What do you say to that sister? Joy, let me go to you first. What do you say? Oh, did everybody run on me? Oh, there you go.
Well, I actually show them certain scriptures that I've been taught on it. And really, it's really up to them. I mean, it's really, if that's something that they feel that is lawful, then that's something they should follow. If they don't, then don't. But my understanding on it, I just got to break down. Let me see if I got it still. Well, pretty much it depends on, I ask them questions about the brother that they're dealing with, because some men use this as a way to just fornicate, or they just use it as a way to just be able to sleep with whoever they want to sleep with. That's what I'm seeing a lot of happening in the Hebrew culture. They're misusing it. So, I just ask them certain questions like that. And I also tell them, really just pray about it and see if that's something that's meant for you, because it's not meant for everybody. I mean, I've seen some cases where it actually does work. And I mean, if you look at our forefathers, I mean, how many wives did they have? You know what I mean? It worked because it was not, there was no spirit of jealousy. There was actually just about building, you know what I mean? So it just all depends on how you were taught and what you believe is right for you and what works for you, because it doesn't work for everybody. So that's pretty much my take on it.
Okay. Sister Isla, the sister comes to you with that question about what do I do about polygyny? What do you say to her?
That depends on if they're already married to the man or not. If they're not already married to the man, if you don't agree with it, walk away. Because it's going to keep coming up. If you're married to him and it's something that came up, it can be discussed. I don't find it as a sin because it's the foundation of how our nation was beginning. We were created from 4 wives and 1 man. So how can I view that as a sin? Yes, it does get abused. Like Sister Joy said, people do take advantage of it. Like she said, and there are cases where it can successfully work. I mean, these white people use this same system to duplicate themselves because their women are so infertile. They have to take on more than 1 wife in order to duplicate themselves to try and catch up to us.
Oh, well, there is a shot.
No, I'm just saying. You have to look at it like this. They do use this same standard to where, if you look at the show Sister Wives, no white man would have that many children with 1 woman, not many of them, in that same way, unless they take on more than 1 wife. And scripturally speaking, our children were our blessings. They were the fruit of our wombs. That was a blessing to women. And we were taught in this society that children aren't blessings. They're more of a burden, We were institutionally brainwashed to think that we need to get on birth control. We need to stop having children and stop what the Most High told us naturally to do, which is be fruitful and multiply, because people like W.E.D. the boss came into the church saying, you're too poor to have that many children. We forgot that the Most High gave us faith to trust in him with every single thing that he blessed us with. And that if he could take care of the birds and the bees and everything else, why couldn't he take care of us and our children? We are so hell-bent on controlling how our relationships are, controlling on the amount of children we have. We don't focus on, our main focus was to trust the Most High for whatever he gives us and whatever is thrown at us, to where when we look at situations, we look at it from a carnal mind. We look at it on how we can manage it, how we can control it, and not how the Most High desires us to go through it. That's how we weather storms. We have so much control over our lives that we don't leave it to the Most High. So when a woman comes to me saying that their husband wants polygyny, I would say, do you want to stay in this marriage? That would be my first question. Do you want to stay in this marriage? Do you love the man that you actually are with. And the reason why I say that is because if you love him and you want to stay in this marriage and you're a helpmate and you guys agree with polygyny, or if he agrees with polygyny, then you're going to make it work. But it's based on who you're adding to your family, to that dynamic, to determine if that's going to work or not. Because the same way you and your husband becomes one flesh, that other person coming in has to join that union and work like a machine. If it doesn't work, it's going to cause hiccups, you know? The same way a business is run with multiple employees is the same way family structure is built. You can't have a table with just one or two legs, you know? And it's funny that this came up because I was just thinking about this morning. But if you look at the family structure, it's structured with a father and a mother, right? And the moment the father and mother dispute or have issues, there's a break. And the children are just left in the air as to who they're going to live with. But if there's more than one wife, the structure is a lot stronger. You know, that wife can depend on that other wife for advice, for counsel, for support or encouragement to keep continuing to work things out. You know, a lot of people look at polygyny like it's a bad word, like it's a bad thing. But I don't look at polygyny like it's a bad thing. I actually look at it like I come up from a family of 9. There were 7 girls and 2 boys. So when it came to marriage, I ideally knew that I was going to have a big family. But because in the beginning of my marriage, I couldn't have children. And when I did have children, I lost 2. So when I thought of a family structure, even if there was a second wife added on, I had the mentality of Sarah. If I couldn't give him children, eventually I wouldn't mind if he having a second wife to have children. Why? Because I didn't have a jealous bone in my body. I knew that he wasn't going anywhere. And I knew that biblically speaking, he knew where we stood. That's why I agree with polygyny, even if no one else does. Because I know that at some point, there's gonna be a need for children, even if I can't have them. Now, yeah, I have 4 children now, but at the same time, I also understand that women need to be more supported when it comes to bearing children. If it takes a village to raise a child, where's that village coming from? Where? Who will be more invested in your children than the women that your husband is adding to the family? That's my last input on it.
Okay. All right. So Sister Ashanti, when you had stepped away, I had mentioned how, you know, we both have done shows on Debate Talk for You about this subject. So we both have content on there. So briefly, just kind of like go into, you know, what do you say to the woman who comes to you asking with that type of situation? Oh, this man that I'm with wants.
Do you mind if I address the Marcus Mack first? He has said we have to get right with one man and one woman first. We still are under the dominion of the heathen culture. I totally understand that. But if you already got things right in your relationship, what does the being dominion under a heathen have to do with your marriage? Okay. What does that have to do with your marriage? That's my question. No, I'm not trying to impose.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not trying to impose anything or push anything on anybody. This is just my take on polygyny. This is just how I feel. Considering the fact that a lot of Black people are raised in single parent households, considering the fact that a lot of Black families are raised in baby mama situations where a Jake has 1, 2, 3 baby mamas, why is it an issue for him to have 1, 2, 3 wives? Why is that an issue?
Yeah, well, if
we can collect baby mamas, why can't a man have more than one wife? Wives are more. First of all, baby mamas don't stick around and be as dependent as a wife. A wife is a person who's supposed to be your backbone. They're supposed to be your rib, meaning that they will support you. They will be that tower against death for you. They are more invested in your well-being and your children than a baby mama.
Okay.
They're going to actually look out for you and make sure that the people you around are the people you should. Well, not to say that they control who you be around, but they're going to make sure that when it comes to you actually being solid and having peace, they're going to work to make sure you have peace. You know?
Okay, okay. So Sister
I for
Ashanti.
people. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, I just want to give her an opportunity to speak. So Sister Ashanti, you were so I like I was saying that we have both done shows on here uh in terms of polygyny. We both have done shows on here. So when a sister does come to you with a matter like this, what do you then say to her in terms of this man I'm with is trying to have more than one wife? Like what do you then say to her?
Initially, about the subject of polygyny, I was indifferent. I was neither for it or against it. Um, Now that I've delved intricately into the terminology, the phraseology, and that is the phrase in Leviticus 18 is an idiom. I have a different perspective. If a woman came to me and said, "Hey, my husband is wanting another wife," I would ask her, "Have you asked him what for? Is this something you guys discussed in your courting dynamic? Is this something that was brought up when the families were getting to know each other? What is the purpose of another wife?" And a lot of the times I would just ask her questions like, "Did you ask this, that, and the third?" And one of the questions I have about polygyny is, are these brothers wanting other wives, getting women or wanting to marry women who don't necessarily have some sort of male in the house, however, they still have children? Because a lot of times guys want to get into polygynous relationships and they don't want to marry women who don't have some sort of man in the house. They don't want to marry women who don't have some sort of man in the house and they have children. They're like, "Oh, I don't want to have a woman with kids." And I'm like, "Well, didn't the father say take care of the fatherless, the widows, or whatever?" And my next question would be, why do men need to be married to a woman to help take care of her? There was a situation a couple weeks ago. We went out. My husband and I, we went out for a friend's birthday, and there was a friend of the friends that we have, and she came by herself. She's a single woman. She does have kids. She was actually the neighbor of our friends, and I asked my husband to walk her to the car. Does my husband need to be married to this woman to help another woman get to her car safely? Those are questions I ask. Do our men have to marry these women in order to take care of the community or help single women out, especially the ones who have children? So I do agree with Demarcus. There is legally in this country, according to a lot of states here in the United States, that do not allow for multiple marriage. And in Deuteronomy 24, a lot of people may be skipping this. However, if there are multiple women in the home, one is going to be loved and the other is going to be hated. Number two, and I mean, not number two, but another issue is in this country, when, and I had to go through this when my brother passed away. He was with a woman for 10 years. They were not legally married. And when my brother passed away, she could not make any choices for him. And the eldest son of my brother, he did not want to do anything because the eldest son was 21 years old. He did not have the best relationship with his father, who was my brother. So my nephew, relinquished the rights to me to take care of everything. So when you're not legally married in certain states and you don't have a will of, testament or whatever, those legalities come into play when somebody passes away. Assets and things like that, when things are not legally taken care of, it can be a mess because other people are going to step in. So you can be quote unquote a second or a third or a fourth wife. Just understand you're going to be the wife that's hated, which means loved less. You're going to be the wife that's hated. And if you're not legally if you're not legally married, unless you guys have some sort of something in the books, you don't really have any say in certain things. You know, there's no quote unquote community property for you. You know, I think we, I think it would be in our best benefit to evaluate those things. But whatever works for the home is cool. And I will say, yeah, you do have Leviticus 18. I'm not going to get into that. I did a lesson on that, and I know people don't agree. Some people do agree. I just look at the dynamics in the text. A lot of the Israelite men outside of Solomon, we can't really say that we see them directly going out and wanting second and third and fourth and fifth wives. Um, like I said, outside of Solomon, I don't see Abraham wanting the wife. I don't see Jacob. Actually, he was tricked. So certain of those things I believe would be interesting or intriguing to bring into perspective. Like, did these men intentionally go out and say, "Hey, I want me a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth, and a sixth, and a seventh wife"? Yeah, if the circumstances are a woman is barren, is she supposed to? Is she supposed to encounter the Most High like um, Hannah did? You know, like Hannah did. She prayed. Um, and I'm just like, ask the man, what for? What do you want this wife for? I have a friend. Oh my gosh, he passed away too, and he said his grandmother had over 20 children by the same man. Over 20 children by the same man. And so it is possible for one woman to have multiple children, and it is in the Most High's will actually to close wombs. A lot of people don't understand that either. The Most High opens wombs and closes wombs. But I'm like, ask that man if this was not you guys' original dynamic when you recording, because that's what an actual ketubah is about. What for? Do you need to marry another woman to help your children out, or can you get community assistance from other sisters, aunties, and elderly women of the tutors? Back in the day, my mom
If you
was.
mind me interjecting, I'm sorry. The reason why I want to interject is because first, I understand you don't have kids. I understand that. Two, there's a few little hiccups I want to address. Jacob didn't just take 2 wives. He also had 2 other concubines. So if he did not agree with polygyny, why would he continue to take on 2 more wives? 2, legality. I understand claiming someone's body. That's what a will is for. I get that. A will is written up in order for when someone dies, they write out the specifics of where everything's going and how they want to be laid to rest. In Deuteronomy chapter 7, it tells us not to make any type of agreements with the heathens. That's why I say, what does a heathen have to do with your marriage? 3, and it's not just for bearing children. It's not just about sex when it comes to taking on more than one wife. And Solomon wasn't the only one besides Abraham that had more than one wife. If you read the book of Judges, the judges who were claimed righteous people who led Israel had more than one wife. If you look at Gideon, he had multiple wives. Yes, there will be a less loved wife. Doesn't mean that that wife is hated. It doesn't mean that that wife isn't taken care of. It doesn't mean that that wife isn't happy. On top of that, you have to realize that whether it's a marriage relationship or a relationship when it comes to children, you're going to have favorites. Everybody has favorites. When you look at friends, you have that one specific friend that you spend time with, even though you have other friends. There's going to be favoritism. Is jealousy a sin? Absolutely. But it's a spirit that everybody needs to check, not just in their marriages, not just in their friendships, just period. And according, can someone show me specifically in the scriptures where it says that polygyny is a sin? Because if it was a sin, why did it go on in the Old Testament so long? Why? Why were these righteous men considered righteous, but still committing these sins on polygyny? Why weren't they considered sinners? Those sins were never addressed as sins when it came to them taking on these multiple wives. I'm
No problem, no problem. Yeah, I want to wrap it up by saying, you know, each marital dynamic is its own, and you ask one another, you communicate, and whatever choice the Most High is telling you to make the choice the Most High is telling you to make. So I yield.
Yes, sis Isla, the last 2 minutes of your comment we couldn't hear because it was garbled. Yeah, check your audio.
sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying, I don't see anywhere where polygyny is a sin, you know. If it was a sin, it wouldn't have been allowed among the judges, among the kings, among the leaders, you know. A lot of people think that it's just for sex, but if you've actually lived in a polygynous marriage, you really don't know the ins and outs of it, you know. Like you said, to each is its own when it comes to marriage standards and structures, you know. I mean, I tend to stay out of other married people's businesses and out of their relationships, but when it comes to what the scriptures say and what people say they say, we have to actually read what the scriptures say, you know. And I haven't read anything that says that it's a sin, you know.
Right. Like I said, it's not for everybody. It's just like Sister Ashanti was saying, you know, during the courting process, that's important to actually mention during that time, you know. And like I said, it's not for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody. And like, you know, you got to just be cautious and
I agree
careful.
100%.
Yeah, because a lot of these brothers, especially these new ones and new in the faith, and they learn about that, they jump right on it and misuse these sisters. And, you know, it's just a lot of sisters need to use wisdom when encountering these brothers, because it can be a very bad situation that they might get themselves into. Because you can use this book to, you know, manipulate people, and it's just you know, you got to use wisdom and sada. But yeah.
No, I agree 100%. You know, I'm not imposing anything on anyone, and I'm not trying to make anybody change their minds. I'm just saying, you know, being a woman who desired to have children and at one point wasn't allowed to, and then losing 2 children, knowing the state that Sarah was in when she desired to give Abraham Hagar as a second wife to bear children for her because she desired to have children along with him. I totally get where she was coming from, you know. So
All right, all right. Pardon me, y'all. I have to step away for just a quick second. Okay, so we probably gonna have to have another show that's strictly dealing with this topic, because we probably gonna have to dive all the way into it. And interesting enough, I don't know if Debate Talk here has ever hosted a polygamy panel with sisters. I've never actually seen it. I know it's been done with brothers. It's been done with sisters before. Oh,
Yes.
okay. So, well, it may need to be revisited. Yeah, we'll definitely try to make that happen. Sister Shanti, maybe you should host that on your on your show.
I do not want to host that, man.
Why not? Why
Because
not?
you know, I wouldn't be a good host for that, because I'm not emotionally attached to the subject, as you can see. And what I mean by that is, you probably
I would
want to
host it.
host,
I haven't
like,
hosted it. And Daughters of
hey,
Zion,
we could get Sister Isla
Daughters,
if she's volunteering.
1 minute,
Go ahead.
one
Yep,
minute,
go ahead.
1 minute. Daughters of Zion, sis, I see your comments. It's only confusion. Marriage is not as complicated when it comes to polygyny as people think. When you have marriage, if you communicate, it won't be that confusing, especially if you know the woman he's dealing with. If you can communicate with your husband, you can communicate with his second wife. It's only confusing when people disagree with it, when people don't want no parts of it. That's where the fighting and the confusion comes in, when you don't address those issues. The same way you can have a best friend. You guys can have the perfect relationship. Go out, hang out. You can have a friendship with a person who you share a husband with. It's not that complicated. People are thinking that because of the bond that you have with your husband, if a man can cheat on a woman and be with multiple women and say nothing and maintain those relationships, why can't he do that honestly and openly and communicate with his wives? Wouldn't that be more righteous? Why
So
would you want it? Why would you want him to keep that behind your back and not tell you about what's going on? Because a lot of these brothers claim that they not about polygyny and end up taking second wives and don't tell their wives nothing. And then their wives walking around wondering why they got STDs and don't know what the hell is going on. I would rather my husband be open and honest and tell me the truth and know who he's dealing with than to be lied to my face and not have any idea what the hell is going on. You
I'm
laughing
sorry.
because you know James do that.
No. I'm actually laughing because it took for this topic for the chat to really start going live, and now my text is blowing up and the text messages. So I'm actually laughing at the chat and at the text messages that I'm getting, and everything.
But
pops up
you
on
have
my
to be
screen.
real. You know Jake's that and hooked up with multiple women and they don't know nothing about each other. Right?
I mean, hey, I did it when I was in the world, so
But that's what I'm saying. Like, why not be open and honest and communicate and address those issues, address those emotions, and be upfront with each other? Why not be honest?
Yeah. Okay, well,
What makes more
here's
sense?
here's what I'll say to the subject matter, and again, we're probably gonna have to do another segment that dedicated to this. Polygyny is often a topic on Debate Talk View that comes up. It looks like it happens every once a year. It comes up and then it kind of goes off for about a week. But here's what I'll say to the subject matter. Again, for those who don't know, I mean, you can check out the video that I did with my co-host. We had came on here, and yeah, I had some things to say about it. But here's what I'll say. Me being a father, having a daughter. Speaking from that aspect. I will not allow my daughter to be in a polygynous marriage. I am not going to allow that at all. The man that she's going to marry, that I'm going to vet, cannot have that belief. Absolutely cannot have it. I will not go for it. I will not allow my daughter to be in a situation like that. If we are over here in this land, if we were back in the land, and let's say if I was, she was already married to this man, and then they couldn't have children. Let's just bring up that scenario. If they couldn't have children, and then he sought to go get another wife in order to bear children. I would intervene and have that brother seek the Most High. In terms of, hey, should I go do this? Should I go do that? And so on and so forth. So, in terms of taking another wife, that's what I would do as a stepfather. I would step in and instruct my daughter's husband to go and do that. I'd be like, hey, you should go do this. But again, ultimately, it's gonna rely on his decision making, because at that point, I've already given consent for her to marry him. If they're already married, I've already given consent. So, but I would intervene and be like, hey, because that's not something that I taught, and I vetted you with you understanding that this cannot go down. But if a situation presents itself, like, hey, you know what, we got to go to the Most High. You need to really go seek that out. That's what I would advise. Um, but again, I am going to do my best to make sure that my daughter doesn't marry a man who has that belief. And I know that that's probably going to shorten the picking pool even more so for my daughter. It's probably going to shorten it up even more because a lot of brothers agree with it. Whether I don't agree with it,
Yeah, women
or whether,
outpopulate men, so
like,
yeah, it's gonna be hard.
right, exactly. So if my daughter ends up being a eunuch, then whatever. But if she is up without a husband, she is up without a husband. But that's what I'm gonna try to do. Me personally, I don't want that situation. I just personally don't. Even if I believed it was something that was lawful, because I don't believe that it was. I don't believe that it was lawful. I actually think that it's going against Torah, and when you read the situations of polygyny with every individual who was involved, it was very situational. It wasn't, and every situation was not the same.
One question. The
Yes.
Bible and the New Testament says that marriage is a mystery. So even if you don't throw in a third party, there's going to be issues no matter what.
Right. Exactly.
So if you're basing it based on that basis, you have to look at marriage in general. No marriage is perfect, even if you add a third perfect person. So there's always going to be issues, even if there isn't a third person. So you can't base it being unlawful based on the situation you read in the Old Testament. There's going to be jealousy no matter what. Even if it's just you and your wife. You could be looking at a woman walking across the street. Boom, she's jealous. There's going to be jealousy no matter what.
Well, the situations that I'm addressing, and that's why I say we need to have a separate show for it, because the situations that I'm addressing actually are harmonized with whether or not they go against Torah. When you read the situation, those that's, and like I said, that's going to take another time, because then we got to get into every situation where a man had another wife. We have to walk it all the way through, because that's actually how I studied it out. I looked at every situation that every man had in Scripture where they had another wife, and then I had to see, would it harmonize? Does it harmonize with what Torah says? And in a lot of cases, these men that are taking on these wives, in a lot of these cases, are actually violating Torah. And in a lot of these cases where men are taking on wives, you have other situations where it was a circumstance, and sometimes the circumstance was a little extreme in terms of women not being able to have a child and all that. But in a lot of other cases where it's
pretty common that a lot of women are infertile and can't have children. That's pretty common.
Right. But again, there a lot of the cases that I've seen, and again, we'll have to do it on another show, where the men are taking on more than one wife. A lot of the cases are purely a choice that they are making that is going against the Torah. And I'm pretty sure there's some people that probably going to want to chime in and come on that show and all that and everything. So it's the reason why I haven't sent out the link either, just in case y'all want to know why. Because I'm like, this is going to take another direction, and I'm trying to get the show to come to a close. But
okay, so the only couple I want to address, because you did say it was a multiple of issues. The only couple I want to address is Jacob. Jacob is the perfect example, even though people look at jealousy and the fact that he was tricked into one wife, but he ended up taking two. I see that situation as a situation that was pleasable, because not only did he bear children to all four of those women, he continued to dwell with them, and they left his uncle's house with those children. So I don't really see.
Hey, may I interject for you one time? Just one time.
Go ahead.
Let me respond to it real quick, and then I'll give you the floor. In terms of Jacob, I'll address that situation, because again, there's a lot of other situations. So in terms of Jacob, it goes back to the situation with Laban. Okay, in terms of how he even got the two sisters, because Leviticus Leviticus, I believe, what 18 actually forbids the marriage of two sisters. You can't actually have two sisters in marriage. I believe that's Leviticus 18 that actually forbids that. So, but Jacob did it. But again, that was a situation. Sorry, my co-host is over here. He's like, yeah, I already knew he was this was going to get his attention. But so Jacob's situation goes back to Laban and that whole clause in terms of marrying the elder sister before you get the younger sister. And yes, he was tricked in terms of the handmaidens being given to him later. Again, it's still not something that I believe was it's not something that was done righteously per se, like he was righteous in doing it. Because again, he had the option to say no, and he did. Did the Most High bring forth the nation of Israel out of that situation? Absolutely, he did. But absolutely that did happen. That's not anything to downplay. It definitely happened. But that's because the Most High's word still had to go forth in terms of the promise that was given to Jacob coming down from Abraham, coming down from Isaac. So that's what that's going back to. The promise is still going to go forth of him of his seed. There would be a fruitful nation. How that situation played out through those four women is a whole nother circumstance. And I don't think that I think we as Israelite men or even women, we look at scenarios and we just say and we automatically say, well, Jacob did it, so then that means that it was okay. But Most High, we don't know if the Most High actually look at that situation and it's like, well, he's not supposed
Actually,
to.
I look at it as a sense of when in the New Testament, when it comes to our forefathers in the Old Testament, it lists their transgressions in the New Testament, what they did wrong, even throughout the scriptures. Like when it talks about David, when he counted the Israelites when he wasn't supposed to, it lists their transgressions and what they did wrong. So if that was a sin, if that was wrong, why weren't those transgressions listed? Because even when it talks about Solomon, how he took heathen wives and he started following their idols, that was a transgression. He started following after their ways and doing what they were doing. It wasn't the fact that he took a second wife, because if it was a sin that he took a second wife, there'd be multiple men on that list of transgressions of doing that wrong. That's how I view it. If it was a transgression, there was multiple men, not just David, not just Solomon, not just Abraham, not just Jacob. There were multiple men that took more than one wife.
Right.
Even if you look at the judges had multiple wives. So I didn't view this as a transgression or a sin, because if it was a sin, it would have been listed as a transgression.
Well, and this is where, again, it's for another show, because it then pulls out more information. Because then now when you get into Judges, or whenever they was going off and fighting those other nations and all that, and they was taking those women and all that, like it then goes into other laws where they're not supposed to be dealing with these women in the first place because they were of another nation. But that's another situation for the
laws had to do with women who were taken in war and how to deal with those women.
Yeah, well, and see,
there was a lot about that.
Right, and this is why it's a lot to unpack, because now we got to deal with, well, okay, now they go and deal with women from other nations. They're not supposed to be dealing with these women from other nations because they were instructed to not do that when they come into the land, but then they were doing that anyway. So again, we have to go back and we got to re-examine some things, and that's why I said that when I look at every situation with what these men were doing when they were taking on other wives, I have to then harmonize it with what all the commands say, and it'd be like, okay, in this situation, were they violating Torah? Was it okay? This, and that. And then I have to go now precept upon precept, line upon line with every law, that would apply to that situation in terms of marriage, the type of women they can deal with, if they can have more than one, if they can't, then what situation, what happened, what's going on. Then I have to harmonize it with other situations and be like, okay, well, okay, was it okay for them and this and that? And that's why I said that we got to dedicate another show to it, because more of that becomes unpacked. But let me give Sister Ashanti the floor, she's been waiting. So let me give her the floor to speak, and then well, actually, because we're coming up on 3.5 hours now. So let me give her the floor to speak, and then I got one more question for you guys, and then we'll get ready to close out.
Which one we speak about, Gabbar? I mean, because y'all was going in. I'm
Yeah,
looking
you.
at this comment section, giving me. I'm over here giggling. I'm over here giggling, and yeah, this comment section. But go ahead,
Yeah,
Gabbar.
it's like I said, once a year, Debate Talk for You deals with this topic at least once a year. So it comes up. It comes up. But you had said that you had wanted to interject because you had wanted to say something.
Oh, I just had a minor question. But it may be for the show. I'm just like Gabbar as a man when Jacob, his bedtime was gambled, pretty much. How do you feel about that? Because Rachel and Leah was like, hey, if you get these mandrakes right here, you can have your bedtime. How would you feel if one of your wives did that to you? I mean, when people bring up the Rachel and Leah and Jacob, they rarely bring that part up. I'm like, how would you feel, Gabar, if like that happened? Go ahead.
Where if I got
I don't know.
where if I got duped into having the wrong woman, if I got duped,
Right?
that's an interesting question. That's an interesting question.
And they were selling Jacob like, oh, if you give me these mandrakes, I'll let you have him for the night. Like, I mean, how would you feel if I don't know?
Well, no battle
It
on
was just funny to me. I
so mandrakes. you got what the wrath of the Most High. But this collie says mandrake starts laughing. So well, here's me. I first of all, in applying Romans 15:4, is that where it is? No, yeah, Romans 15:4 about where it says how everything that was written for a time was written for our learning. You know, I whenever I'm executing that scripture, I'm like, all right, I have to look at these individuals and put myself in their shoes, and how would I feel in that situation, and what would I do going forward to make sure to avoid even a situation like that. Uh, so first of all, I would not let my father-in-law get me drunk. First of all, I'm just not gonna let him get me. I'm just not gonna let him get me drunk. I understand that, he wants to uh toast the occasion of his daughter you know being married and all of that, but I would try to avoid getting drunk first of all. And then later on, as far as the whole mandrake situation, as far as that, I mean, man, that's a tough one, man. To be honest with you, that's kind of like a tough one. I've never actually thought about that situation.
It's not that complicated. My husband had a second wife before, and when it comes to sharing your husband, it's communication. It's communication. He had one when we were living a long time ago in South Carolina. So it's not that complicated. People get into their emotions, they get into their issues. First of all, we're dealing with relationships that didn't start where everybody were virgins. You've all been with someone else prior before who you're with if you weren't a virgin before then.
Yeah, that's true. And Sister Sunday, she dropped off for a second, but yeah, that's true. That's true. We all have pretty much soiled our royal oats as as the term goes. So before coming into this, again, for me, according to what I've studied, I'm just like, nah, I'm just not. And there's a whole lot, but again, we got to unpack a lot of that stuff. Otherwise, because we're gonna be on here another like 3 hours to unpack all that information. So we can definitely revisit it. I need some time to actually ponder on that mandrake situation. I don't want to answer in a haste. So Ashanti, not sure what happened to you, but if you come back on, I'll get back to you on that. I don't have an answer to that one. So let's get ready to bring this to a close. I know we've been on for a minute. Let's go to let's go back to Sister Joy. Let's go back to you. So last thing, um, what 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 do we as men uh need to know or understand from you women who are going through this walk daily? What is it that we need to hear that we don't know or not quite understand or grasp the concept of coming from you women in this walk? What is that which we need to know?
Main thing is that, not to expect a woman to be a Proverbs 31 woman automatically. And that, we all are learning and we're all growing in this walk. We need to have patience with each other. And especially, every day we're learning new things as we read this word. It's just so much knowledge in it, and not everybody gets it right, the first time, or, it's just really having patience with each other and learning how to grow with each other, and just especially for men, I would say let them take time, because I know a lot of brothers, as soon as they get in this truth, they're like, sister, you ain't supposed to wear pants, you gotta have your head wrapped, you gotta have this, like hold on, I'm just like getting into it, because that can scare some of the sisters away. It's like, explain to them why you do it this way, you wear your pants like, you wear your shirts like this, or just how you're supposed to dress and the reason why, instead of just demanding it. Don't be so barbaric and just be like, you should do this, you should do that. Deal with them like you want the Most High to deal with you. I know it can be a little rough sometimes, but not be so overbearing and overpowering. Like, just have patience with them, because I see a lot of sisters that I talk to that are having so much problems, and they're walking away from even the Bible because of how men are coming at them. You can run a lot of people away from this truth by how you treat them. So I think that's something that men need to take into consideration when dealing with women, period, in this walk. Just have patience.
Okay. All right. All right, let me go ahead and go to Sister Isla. Sister Isla, same question. What is it that we as men don't hear from you women that we need to, or not quite understand, that we should be informed of?
Salakia, she has stepped away for a second.
Oh,
So,
okay. Cool.
if you can, she has stepped away. Sorry about that.
Okay. Oh, no problem. And then Sister Ashanti, she's having some computer issues. She's gonna try to come back on. So while we wait on that, let's go back to Sister Joy. Is there anything else that you want to add to that we may not?
Yeah. Like they were talking about, how sisters can't cook or can't sew. If they don't know how to do that, invest in your wife. Have her take cooking classes or sewing classes. If there's certain things that you want her to know, or she's interested in knowing, help her find ways of doing it. Invest in her like she's investing in you.
Salakia, I'm back.
Okay. All right. All right. So, Sister Isla, so same question to you. What do we as men need, or not haven't been hearing from women, or not understanding from women, that we should be informed of?
I think that men and women are never going to fully understand each other because we're two different beings. Even though we will be one flesh, we operate and we do things totally different. All we can do is communicate and try and understand each other to the best of our abilities, and be patient with each other and try and be understanding. And Daughters of Zion. Sarah laughed because she couldn't have a child, and she didn't believe that the Most High was going to give her a child. That's why she laughed. It wasn't because of the second wife. I actually did study scriptures on barren women and women who couldn't have children before I had my son, because I needed to understand it a whole lot more. But I think it will come a point once you're married long term, you will get to a point to where you will better understand each other's roles. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes really getting to know each other. If you didn't take that time out before getting married, that time is gonna have to be taken out during the marriage. You know.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, Sister Ashanti, final question. What do we as men need have are not hearing from you sisters or not understanding that we should be informed
That we have our own brain. We're human beings. We have 2 ears to hear, and we have one mouth so we can speak. That's what I would say. We're human beings. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think it might be a lag because it sounds like you're on your phone. So
Yeah, I am on my phone. My computer, I don't know what happened to it. But yeah, that's what I would say. I'm a human being. I have a mouth so that I can speak. I have ears so that I can hear when it's time to hear. And I'm a human being, and I have my own brain. I was equipped with a brain to use it. That's it. When we're communicating, it's not necessarily nagging. It's being in touch with what the Most High equipped us with in our DNA, as far as feelings, emotions, concerns, all of that. So I don't have more to say after that.
all right.
Oh, I had another sister just text me right now. She wanted to add want me to add something here. She says she wants y'all men to know that when you're teaching your wife scriptures, have patience with her, because sometimes it takes women, everybody learns differently, to not really beat up on them, because there's some men that are doing that. She wanted me to add that.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been an interesting conversation. It's been an interesting conversation. I actually picked up on some things that I didn't think y'all was going to say. So, and clearly for everyone that's tuning in, as you clearly see that all the sisters that's in this walk are not all the same. We all have viewpoints that we are coming in with, and that we're understanding, and like it was already stated earlier, whatever works in your household, that's whatever works in your household. So hopefully you brothers have been edified, sisters too, and what has been addressed by these sisters, and what they have said. Most high willing, we could do this again. I actually like to do this again, just to kind of get another round of sisters and everything, because definitely we need to be able to understand what these sisters are, where they are coming from, and what they gotta what their thought process is. So and as you can see, every sister, like sisters did so some of the times have similar responses. Sometimes they were different, so that is why I did this show, so that way these sisters can come on and give their voice on things. And again, the sisters don't all necessarily agree, even themselves, on some of the viewpoints. But again, these are things that we as men we gotta know and understand too. That okay, that and to what Sister Santi was saying, as far as like women having their own brain, I think that's something that we need to pay attention to. We need to pay attention to that women do have their own brains. So that is why communication is important, and talking and everything. So that way, how can you be of the same mind if you don't even know where her mind is? How can you even get on the same playing field if you don't even know that her mind is this way and your mind is that way, and no one's saying anything? So you got to definitely talk and communicate. I mean, women are not supposed to be mute boxes, just sit in the corner and shut up and don't say anything. Like that's not what I see. Micah is asking, do the women on the panel cook on the Sabbath? He might be asking that because of the
No, I don't.
I do. I cook on the Sabbath.
I did too.
And everything I do, I have understanding from actually reading the Hebrew and actually going back
Exactly.
into biblical sources.
Yep.
I look at what the children of Israel did in the wilderness, outside of the wilderness, and then after the second temple was built, because after the second temple was built, there was a lot of reforms called the oral law and tradition that we may not be privy to understanding. So a lot of this stuff is oral law crept in with Ezra and Nehemiah, then the rabbis, but I do cook on the Sabbath. I've done lessons while I cook on the Sabbath. I go into the Hebrew and I go into the history. That's what I will say. But I want to know why that question came about. Like, I mean, look. This is my.
I think I know
I
why.
mean, this is my thing, man. I know a man like a hot meal 6 days a week. So if a man like a hot meal 6 days a week, why the man gotta always have a cold meal on the Sabbath? If we talk about pleasing, our husbands at times, I'm like, how is the Sabbath supposed to be a delight if you can't have um if you can't have a choice of having a warm hot meal sometimes? So I mean, that's just the question I put out. But I don't care who does cook. I don't care who don't cook. But I cook on the Sabbath. That's it.
All right, all right. I think that question got brought out because I did that show a couple weeks ago about cooking on the Sabbath. So Micah might be inquiring to try to find out who else may share that viewpoint. So with that, let's go ahead and get some closing words from all the sisters. Let's go to Joy first. Let's get some closing words.
Well, this has been a blessing. I really enjoyed this. Hope everybody has a blessed Shabbat, and hope we can do this again because it's fun. Very edifying. Very edifying.
Yeah, next time, don't be so shy and turn your camera on.
It's not that. It's because I got my tooth infection, so my face is swollen. I ain't gonna come up here looking like I got beat up.
You sound mighty fine for me for someone who got a toothache.
No, it's because I did my healing oils. It's just my whole face is still a little swollen. So, but I'll be on next time. You'll see me next time.
Yeah, Sister Isla didn't want to turn on her camera initially, and she turned hers on, and you said you was, and then you did. So, anyway, nah, it's all good. It's all good. Definitely appreciate you coming on, Joy. Most high willing, we can have another panel discussion like this, so that we, sisters can continue to, let the brothers know, the things that we may not understand or know that you guys have thoughts on internally. So definitely appreciate your time. Let's go ahead and turn it over to Sister Isla. Sister Isla, let's get some closing words. The floor is all yours.
Shalom. I know that it's not normal. I know that monogamy is common, and I know that a lot of people look at the way I think and the things that I say as not normal. Just like the sister, the way, the truth, and the life. If she believed, why did she give Abraham Hagar? The same reason why we don't believe the Most High. A lot of people lack faith. If you had faith, you wouldn't have the issues that you have. Well, I put it like this. Faith is the evidence that are not seen. You can't hold on to faith. So a lot of people do things because they lack faith. That's a general statement, Whether you trust the Most High, He gonna provide for you or not. Whether you trust the Most High, He gonna children or not. Whether you trust the Most High, you will be okay. People go through storms. Not everybody has 100% faith to trust in the Most High. That He gonna do everything that He say He gonna do, because we all have shortcomings. But my closing statement is, everybody. But
All right. I hope everybody heard her because she was kind of cutting out a little bit on my end, but I think everybody else caught what she was saying. So definitely thank you, Sister Isla, for once again coming on. Definitely appreciate your viewpoints and bringing in everything out that you brought out. Make sure you guys, if you're in the Los Angeles area, make sure y'all hit up Sons of Isaac Israelite Congregation. Check them out. I believe in some of the previous videos that when the Sister Isla or even Sister Karasha came on. The information might be in the description. Sister Isla, if you want, you could go ahead and provide the information to them how to get in contact with you guys.
Yeah, Sons of Isaac Israelite Congregation. We have a YouTube channel. There's a website too. I probably can post it somewhere. I'll send it to Gabbar if anyone's interested. But my husband has a congregation here in Los Angeles where we have Sabbath classes Fridays and Saturdays. On Fridays at 7 and on Saturdays at 2. Sorry. If you're yeah. I've been at this too long. My baby done came. On Saturdays he have classes at 2. His YouTube channel is 144,000 Sons of Isaac Israelite Congregation. I think that's about it. We have a Zoom class that we do on a regular. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. All right. Make sure y'all check those out. And definitely appreciate your time coming on. Let's go ahead and turn it over to Sister Ashanti and get some final words. Sister Ashanti, the floor is all yours.
I want to say, Ko Tehelim, Ko Kabo, Wahati Fede, Le Yahweh, Abinu Eloheinu. I want to say all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, our Elohim, our Father, our power, our deity. Thank you, Gabbar, for bringing me on this panel. This was an interesting and intriguing discussion. I definitely would be up for a part 2. I want to say nice meeting you, Sister Joy. Nice meeting you, Sister Isla. Everyone's perspective is really good. And this actually helps each and every last one of us see each other's perspectives. As I said, we all have growing to do. And like Gabbar said in the beginning, we know and we prophesy in part. And everyone is to individually look at their faith, their personal relationship with the Most High, and see how their faith is. I can't gauge another person's faith. I can't gauge another person's comprehension or understanding. I just pray for everyone to get in tune with the Most High Yahweh and the Most High Yahweh's Spirit to bring us all into proper understanding and comprehension, and to work out our own faith with fear and trembling, work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. And to the sisters out there, stay encouraged. My email, duckandodge1@gmail.com, duccndodge1@gmail.com. I also have the teachings that I do on my channel, 916 Shan, 916 SHAN. And then I have teachings also on Debate Talk for You, like Gabbar said. So with that being said, I love y'all. I love all of y'all, and I love y'all with the love of the Most High. And I pray that each and every last one of us get better, grow progressively and successfully in life and in this walk, and that we grow to love one another and be patient. Give that grace, that long suffering to one another. Spread compassion and mercy besides love. Spread that grace, compassion, and mercy. Those fruits of the Spirit. I believe it's good to work that into the dynamic. And with that being said, I do want to close out my part with saying the Aaronic priestly blessing. I believe it's a blessing that all brothers would benefit from learning. And it is Yavarechacha Yahweh Berishmereka. Ya'er Yahweh Panavelecha Wihuneka. Yisa Yahweh Panavelecha Wayasem Lacha Shalom. And that is, may Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face shine on you and show you favor. May Yahweh lift up his face towards you. That means accept you. And may Yahweh grant you peace, shalom, wholeness, wellness. Love y'all. Thank you. Goodbye.
All All right. Definitely appreciate Sister Ashanti for coming on, as well as all the other sisters to join this panel discussion. Definitely appreciate you guys coming on. Let me go ahead and get you guys off here so I can go ahead and close out the show. All right. Definitely appreciate you guys for coming on. All right. So there you have it, everyone. Most High willing, we will be back next week to do another show. Make sure you guys check out the content. May have some other hot seats that are coming up too. Actually, they haven't been confirmed with dates yet, but may have some that are up and coming. But as always, make sure you check out the content here on the platform. And if you have any topics you guys want featured on the show, be sure to reach out to myself, gabbar.alaha@hotmail.com, or you can always reach out Sal Showtime to at debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. Be sure you guys check out the Blog Talk site as well. And most high willing, we gonna get Sal on here. I know y'all want Sal. Y'all tired of seeing me. Y'all want Sal. So we gonna get Sal on here. Most high willing. But definitely appreciate it, Sal, for allowing us to use the platform. Uh, Again, the sisters that came on, most high willing, y'all have a beautiful and blessed Shabbat if y'all are keeping it today, or just a beautiful and blessed day. May the Most High increase you guys, keep watching over you guys. And to everyone tuning in, definitely appreciate you guys' time. I just want to bid you all a farewell. May Yahweh keep you and watch over you all. Shalom, shalom, shalom.